What's up, dude?
What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Is it Friday again already?
It is Friday already.
We still got our Dunkin' Donut fucking cups from Chris.
Shout out to Chris.
Dude, I was giving him shit. Because remember our episode of him?
Oh, yeah.
Compared to who he was in Vegas? Mm-hmm. I was like, buddy, your mom showed up for our episode and you didn't want to say shit.
Now,
fucking boring.
In Chris's defense, it is Vegas.
Fuck you, Chris.
You might be acting a little different in Vegas.
No, he's our guy, man. I super appreciate that guy. And he had a crazy week that week with just work and some different stuff. So we're going to bring him back on and bring his buddy back on that we met in Vegas.
That's right.
And when I mean in Vegas, I mean we were at a conference.
We were.
That I was speaking as professionals.
Strictly professionals.
Today we got a buddy of mine on. This is going to be interesting, guys. So here's what we're going to do. This is an episode for our good buddy Cody, who was a police officer with me. He's a sergeant now. Still in the police world, and he's an instructor doing some cool shit. And we've kept in touch this whole time that we've been on, that I've been gone. And he's like, "Hey man, let's get you on the podcast." I go, "Cool. Well, hey, come to our set because we can just whatever we record for you, we'll just record for us." So this will be fun because Eli will have some fun perspective on, I guess, who I was before. Oh, you always want to know who your husband was before you knew him, right?
Yeah, meet all the exes. Yep,
100%. So like Cody can give some perspective there, but he's also got just questions and things he wants to vibe out on for your show. And what's your podcast called?
I actually have the Bearded Monkey podcast.
The Bearded
Very
Monkey.
unique name.
I can't. Where's your beard?
So it's weak, dude. I've had a lot of people talk shit about the fact that I don't have a beard. But
I know
exactly.
That's
what it is, right?
No, it's not. Is what it is.
What you got?
This is how good I am with people. Cody won't grow a beard because he's got these cute fucking dimples that chicks did. He doesn't want to cover them up. That's it.
Although, look, man, what I do see is my Jewish nose in the screen, so I don't know what to think about that. And then that's what I do see.
Are you Jewish?
Look, man, is it a bloodline? Is it a religion? I'm not religiously both. Jewish. Allegedly, I'm Russian Jewish. So.
Listen.
Look, man.
He's German. He's German Jew.
German Jew. All right, bro.
Hold on. We got a whole new podcast. Two Jews and an asshole.
Hey, man, I
two
won't
Jews
hate
in a cup. I don't know. Two Jews in a cup. Either way, it'll be fun. So Bearded Monkey, that's your podcast.
Bearded Monkey podcast.
You're doing a lot of tactical training. You're doing a lot of apparel. I see a lot of your Instagram. Yeah. We'll throw your handles and stuff on the show. And you're doing a lot of just tactical training for civilians.
Ton of tactical training for civilians. I've done the training stuff in law enforcement, previous military. Prior to that, if you call Coast Guard military, right?
I don't.
I do. I get a lot of shit talk, especially. I mean, it's coming from a Marine, man. I can't talk shit.
But you've never heard me talk shit about the Coast Guard.
That's true. You do not talk shit about the Coast Guard. I appreciate that, Will.
The percentage of people that actually serve our country, it's so low. Like you'll get guys that bust balls between here and there, but like, no, man, I got love for all of it. Like,
I appreciate
I'm not sure how well you guys are doing with the border right now. You know, we don't even get into that. I'm not sure if you guys are like, Joe Biden just put you guys all on like vacation or what?
It's not good, man. Put us on blast. Yeah, limiting what we got going on.
Yeah,
it's not looking too good. Pouring across the border.
But you're using your military background, your current police, experience, and just helping via social media, teaching people just tactical safety, mentally, physically, with weapons. And then you also teach classes.
I do.
And then you've got your Bearded Monkey podcast with just long form content and just teaching people. So if you guys are listening to mine, if you want to give Cody a shout and take a listen to his, that'd be fun. And where did Bearded Monkey come from? Like, where'd the name come from?
You know, I knew you were going to ask that. It's kind of funny, man. There's a couple of different reasons I wanted to come up with the name Bearded Monkey Podcast. Specifically during that 2020 era. You got COVID going on. You got the BLM movement going on. Obviously, I'm in law enforcement. Law enforcement, whether or not you want to admit one way or the other, it was definitely under attack within reason for some cases, right?
Sure.
But to be demonized anywhere you turned. You put on the television, you read the newspaper, whatever the case was.
Yeah.
You could not turn anything on without hearing some kind of negative speak on the law enforcement profession. And so for me, I started in law enforcement in 2004. It was a passion of mine. We've talked passion many times, Will. Yep. But it was something even as a little kid, being like 5 years old, sitting in front of the television screen, can I say Indian style?
Sure.
I can say Indian style.
Is
that okay, Eli?
I think so.
For now.
Yeah.
All right. So sitting
only because you're Jewish. That's it.
Only
because you're Jewish.
Yeah. So for me, I say cross-legged.
You say crisscross applesauce. A little bit of that.
Crisscross applesauce.
All right. So sitting down as a little kid, watching cops on the television screen. You know, being 5 years old, my mom's got graham crackers and grapes and all the good snacks. Ever since I was about that age, I wanted to do something in that first responder realm.
Yeah.
So coming into law enforcement like I did, I was like For 21 years old, Will, young as hell, joined the military at 17, get out, become a police officer right around that age of 21, right?
Yep.
And doing it was all I wanted to do. Then when all this stuff is going on, all the negative police talk, right? We always rolled with punches in this profession. People are going to dislike what you do sometimes.
Sure.
You're not going to be popular with everybody. But during that era, it got to the point where I was questioning, do I really want to keep doing this? Is it worth it to me? Is it worth it to my family? Is it fair to my kids to have to answer all these questions? Is your dad a murderer? What does he do? Does he hate black people? Does he whatever, right? Which, by the way, dude, my wife is black and Hawaiian. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what race you are, right? We police.
You get to Bill Burr. You get to Bill Burr
all day.
Credit, yeah.
So I kind of dealt with that, right? And I'm trying to come up with ways, like an outlet. How do I get out there? How do I get some of these feelings, some of these opinions out? And on the podcast, I don't talk about the agency I work for. I do talk about the profession, but I just don't name the agency specifically. And I've been with my agency since 2007.
So that's the beard is like the cover.
So a little bit of that cover, right? But here's the deal, man. Everybody always talks about getting the monkey off your back. And so for me, getting that monkey off your back. So between the beard, between the monkey, plus you think operator, right?
Yeah.
Any operator, whether they're a SEAL, Green Beret, whatever that is, they got that beard a lot of times. So I thought that looked pretty badass. Sounded pretty badass. I thought it was a catchy little slogan.
Yeah.
So bearded monkey. And then for anything in life that you want, you're going to fight for that. And brother, you're going to fight for that like you're the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark and it's starting to rain. So that's something that I wanted to pursue. I wanted to pursue that. You're going to fight like you're that monkey on that ramp to Noah's Ark. So bearded monkey. And that's
cool.
Literally where it went, man. We're heading from that.
Very cool. So now you guys know where to find Cody. Cody, we're going to give it up to you, man. And just, I know you got questions for me or just typical, like, interview style as far as like how you like to run your show and just open it up and just start where you like to start. And, if I don't like your questions, I'll just cry about it and we'll fucking
cry about it. We'll have a nice little flow. We've never been short on conversation. Well, check it out. So
remember that meme, Eli, on Instagram where like they turn it over to the anchor and he goes, "So why are you gay?"
Yeah.
Who says I'm gay? You are gay.
Dude, you know what you have to do?
You are gay.
That's like Cody's first question to me. Like, so why are you gay? Like, oh, we're going there already?
We have to just grab that soundbite so I can just hit the button.
Why are you gay?
Come up at any time.
Buddy, it'd be fucking amazing. Not for Cody, but we got some interviews. Like Chris, I'd be hitting that fucking thing.
All day.
Dude, he put me to sleep. I was so pissed at him.
Check it out. So first and foremost, I want to thank both of you for taking the time, allowing me on this Day One $0 podcast. And the fact that, I have kept in touch with you all these years, right? You worked with me for several years. You brought the background that you did to the profession. And anybody that's listening to your show, anybody that watches your YouTube channel, they know a little bit of your background. I'm sure you share that.
A little bit.
You speak in public and everything else, right?
Right.
I knew you before all this, man. That's special for me to be able to watch that growth along the way. So I've kept tabs. I've learned so much shit from you. I dabbled. Do I pursue real estate? And I know you clown me a little bit because you're like, you don't have to be passionate about it, Cody.
You don't.
Or whatever, right?
You don't. We can talk about that today too. You don't. But I know what you mean.
Yeah, man. But I admire where you've gone. Okay. And I don't know how much you share or what you want to talk about, whatever on this.
Sure.
But I want to say this. Century Theater shooting. July 20th, 2012. You were employed with the agency that I currently work with still.
Yep.
The Century Theater, anybody that knows anything about it, it was a horrific event. 70 people wounded, 12 killed.
Yep. That was the Batman shooting. Layman's terms, not to be disrespectful. That's what people, like when it was all over the news, it was like, because they were playing, that was the release of the new Batman movie.
It was, man.
That came out late that night when it happened.
Yeah, man. What I would say is this. It was so much so soon. People talk about, did that bother you? Did this bother you more than that particular call? Or what was the worst call you've ever handled, right? Mm-hmm. What's funny, Will, and there's nothing funny about the shooting, but the funny thing about the aftermath, right? I have probably dealt with calls that affected me more for whatever reason, whether that's a child call or a child death or whatever. They affect me more long-term. And That night, I was working graveyard shift. And I don't know where you were assigned that night specifically. I was in District 1 graveyard shift. I was working Area 3. Went to the call, did whatever we did on the call.
Yep.
I went home the next day. Probably got home about, noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And didn't sleep. I remember sitting on my couch. And I had a dog at the time, great big old yellow lab. And the dog was in touch with the emotions, right?
Sure.
He knew I was feeling it, man. And I remember turning on the television and just replaying all the scenes in my mind. And I didn't sleep well. I tried to get some sleep after that. I probably slept 2 hours at best. What a lot of people don't get, and you get it, you're military, man. You were in combat as well as first responder. And in that, you don't get a day off. It's not like you go back and you sit down in therapy and you've got a week off or 2 weeks away from the job.
Right.
You're back the next day, man.
That was the hardest part about police work.
Yeah.
Of just going from like military, mercenary work,
Yep.
And then like police work. Like for example, like with whether it's military or mercenary work, right? Like you're kind of turning it on and you're going to turn it on and for as long as you're there and then it gets turned off when you come home. There's some hard things there, right? Because like if something's on for so long, and then you try to shut it off, like that's different. Like the challenge that I didn't necessarily anticipate as a police officer until you get into it is like it's not even necessarily like the downtime on my days off that were challenging because you start working so much, you get so tired. At some point, you're just gonna fucking sleep, right?
Oh yeah.
It wasn't that. It was actually within the shift. It was call to call compartmentalization, not day to day compartmentalization. It was, I've talked about a couple calls before that were just not good. Kid deaths, things like that, and victim advocates bitching out. So then I'm the one that goes and talks to mom. But then I'm going to go on a verbal domestic here in 30 minutes and hear people argue about who got the wrong jelly at the grocery store. And then I'm going to go to a fender bender, and hear people fucking bitching at each other about that. And like, you got to go be this other cop now because you can't go take that out on everybody.
No.
And they're not necessarily understanding of even what you're exposed to every night. So when you got to go help an old lady with groceries, when you got to go help a couple that are arguing and struggling, when you got to go, to a school and just be patient with the principal and navigate things between a principal that's fed up with a student and like, but you got this thing that just happened an hour ago.
Yeah, man.
Like a baby dies in a fire. Fuck.
Yeah.
That was one of my worst because then I had to go talk to mom. I've never heard somebody cry so hard, buddy. Like
yeah.
But then you have other calls that night. You got 25 more calls that night where, do you have to be assertive? Do you have to draw your weapon? Do you not have to draw your weapon? And you're trying your hardest to make sure that you're not just jumping the gun, and drawing your weapon or making a decision. It's like, hey, am I making this decision? Am I being this assertive with someone or with the situation because it's the right thing to do or because something's affecting me from an hour ago? And you play with it, man. Like it dances and you just have to get really emotionless to things at times because you got to just stay even across the board. So like the hard calls can't affect you that much, but then when people are appreciative of you and say thank you, you can't let that affect you too much. Like, so for me, man, I don't know, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, it was a compartmentalization from call to call that you really have to be vigilant about versus like any struggle I had like day to day or anything like that.
Two things specifically that I want to give you a shout out on, right? It's interesting you mentioned fire because the next day, and I don't know if you remember this, so I'm going to tell this story and I'm pretty sure you're going to remember pretty quick. Next day.
As long as I was good looking and was the hero, I'm good with this story.
You were definitely
if I'm
good
not,
looking.
then I don't remember.
And this was when you had the spiked up hair, all the hair, and I had beautiful hair too.
Before you get into this story,
yeah,
you had amazing hair.
I had amazing hair. I put
everyone
the wax
makes
in it, right?
Let me tell you how traumatized I am. Like, let me tell you the friend I am for Eli.
Of course, I get
Eli.
You still got hair right now?
Hell no.
Okay, you shave it too.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, he shaves half of it. The other half is the other half is self-motivated. He shaves the lazy outside. But here's the thing. I used to make fun of him for it, right?
Okay,
and then I'm like, hey, dude, just shave your head because you got a good-looking head.
You do.
But karma, so I shave my head out of support for him. I get made fun of for being the fucking bald one. People call me bald. I'm like, I'm not fucking bald. I actually got great hair.
Got a great head of hair.
I just shave it for this dude. Like,
yeah.
But it's funny. It's this karma for like making fun of Eli. But funny. Eli does. He's a good. He's got that Bruce Willis look, man.
Damn right he does.
Even when he had hair, it's like, dude, you shouldn't have had hair. Like, you look really good as like.
I did shave it for a long time. I shaved it from like. I went to a weird American History X thing, but also I am Jewish, not racist. I'm an Edward Norton fan. Edward Norton fan. But,
great movie, by the way.
Yeah, phenomenal movie.
Not racist.
And I shaved it from like 18 to like 23. And then at some point, some guy at the gym was like, hey, dude, you're going to lose your hair someday. You should grow it out for a little bit while you can.
Yeah, he was
right. Then I wrote it for a little bit, and then here I am.
Anywho, I just want to appreciate. Thank you for telling everybody. Hey, that's back when you had good hair. Like, thank you. Everyone knows I had hair. But back to your story.
No, you truly did. So literally next day, we're both working graves.
Yep.
And I remember first call, couldn't have been more than 20 minutes into the shift. We get a call of an apartment complex fire. Massive apartment complex fire. So I go screaming over there, and I don't even know how close you and I were working, what beat, whatever, right? But anyways, by the time I get on scene,
you were way cooler than me, and you were more senior than me. So like, I was. That's why you didn't know, because I didn't fucking matter.
Well, you mattered for this, and I'll tell you why, big time. So I show up to the call. I park. We're trying to block off so nobody else can get into the complex. We're evacuating the building, and we're getting everybody out of the scene, right?
Yeah.
To a safer location. And it was bad enough. I mean, dude. This apartment fully engulfed, massive building, burning up. And I was exhausted. And I'm thinking, man, first call to the shoot, of course this is going to happen, right? You end up parking right next to me. We get out and we're doing our thing and handling the call. And I'm observing the firefighters that are on scene. They're making their way around the building, putting the fire out, spraying, doing all that stuff. And I'm observing up, I think it was probably a 3-story. They end up getting on the 3rd floor. And dude, it's hot enough. Flames are coming up out of the roof. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell, man? Yeah. Like I wouldn't want to be up there. That's the last place I'd want to be on the planet right now. I happen to glance and I observe a squirrel on the 3rd floor of the roof. A freaking squirrel, bro. And I'm watching it, and it's kind of running back and forth and trying to get away from the flames.
Yeah.
And I'm severely concerned about this squirrel at this point. That squirrel's going to burn up.
Sure.
Odd, right? I mean, we're just dealing with an active shooter.
We tend to love we tend to love animals more than humans, man.
I think
right?
I think you're kind of right, dude.
Yeah.
Well, there happened to be a pool below this 3rd floor building. I shit you not, the squirrel Supermans it off the building, lands in the pool, and he's swimming around the pool, right? He's trying to get to safety.
Yeah.
But he can't get out because the water level is too low. So he can't climb out of the water onto the side of the pool.
The water level on the pool is too low for the edge of the pool.
Correct.
Got it.
So we're desperately trying to figure out how do we get the squirrel out of there?
Yeah.
And I believe it was you that grabbed a scoop. And you go, oh, let's use this. He grabs a pool scoop. Yeah. I'm like, this is brilliant. Scoops the squirrel out, puts him on the side, the edge of the pool.
Fuck yeah.
The squirrel lays there for several minutes.
Did the firefighters come save it or some shit or what?
They didn't save it, brother. It was us. We were the heroes that day.
No, I know we saved it, but I wasn't sure if it needed oxygen or not.
No, it didn't need oxygen. But what it did, dude, it's catching its breath. I'm not kidding. I remember this like it was yesterday, vividly. And it's sitting there and it's catching its breath. And you're just watching its little, chest go up.
Yeah.
And then you probably have me, and 3 or 4 other cops that are that concerned about this damn squirrel.
I'm assuming the building's clear. Is that safe
so at this point in time, yes.
Okay.
Yes, the people
for the listeners that are wondering the same thing I am.
But ultimately, the squirrel eventually stands up and walks off.
Yeah.
Like nothing, right?
Yeah.
None the worse for wear. But I literally was on this call the entire evening, the entire night. That was the only call I handled.
Yep.
You sat next to me and we did small talk the majority of the night. Will, you have no idea how much I needed that.
That's cool.
As corny as it sounds, I was so burnt, man. I remember coming in, I had nothing left in me, going on 2 hours of sleep and then going right back at it the next day.
Yeah.
Thank God nobody was hurt in the fire, to answer your question. Like,
Good.
Nobody got hurt, no lives lost, nobody was injured, nothing like that.
Yep.
Thankfully, right? But from that point on, my respect level for you, and I don't know that I've ever shared that story with you.
You haven't.
My respect level for you skyrocketed.
That's cool.
And it's never changed since then, just so you know.
I appreciate that, man. Like,
So-
it's just, sometimes it's just getting to chop it up and just not, and just give yourself a little bit of grace.
Amen, man.
And sometimes it's not about talking about the grace. Sometimes it's just about enjoying a bullshit moment when the opportunity presents itself. It's like when people have somebody pass away. Like, so a lot of you probably can't relate to police work, right? But a lot of us can relate to a loved one passing away, and you're in this fucking cloud, and then like a funny moment or an enjoyable moment comes around. It's like you need to enjoy that, and you can't feel bad or feel selfish for enjoying a moment because you're still sad that someone's gone. You still need to enjoy a moment for what it is. And that's that whole just take a breath and like, hey man, we're just fucking humans trying to figure this fucking thing out and being able to just enjoy each other. Like, I've always been pretty decent at emotional intelligence and just being able to regulate my own, which tends to help other people regulate their own. So it's not like, I knew what you were going through. It's just that was just my form of regulating myself.
Yeah.
But then indirectly, it can help other people regulate. Like there's a great quote I heard not too long ago, and it says, greatness brings people together. And it's true, man, at a big level and at a small level, right? So like, it's just a reminder of like why it's important to be great. And I don't mean great just at basketball or baseball, but just whoever you're going to be and whatever you're going to be. Like, if you can be great at it, there's so many indirect positive things and influence that comes from it. It's important for you to take that serious and to be great within the scope of how you see yourself being.
Absolutely.
Understanding just some of the residual, right? Because I've had times when people have like done that for me, and it's like they don't even know what they just did for me. But whatever zone they're in or whatever space they're in, I'm so glad that they are, because that just allowed me to just kind of like, have a moment. I'm trying to remember. Do you remember which building it was?
God, I don't, man. From what I recall, and I'm trying not to give away exact location, whatever. Havana area, like off Havana. Yeah. So, that's
that year, bro, we had like 12 fires.
Oh, it's crazy. I don't know if it's an arson issue or kitchen fires or
I don't know. All I know is like I was the first one to show up on almost all of them. They were all fucking mine. I'm
pretty sure you got an award from one of them.
I did.
Yeah.
Yep. We've talked about that a little bit before as well. And there was even more. There was a couple more that I felt like that one was pretty high risk just because of that semi truck just getting ready to blow. And Marker was there, and a couple civilians were there as well. That helped out. That was cool. And there was a couple other men that were like Uber. I can't. There was one apartment, man, where like I got so much smoke inhalation from being in the building, crawling around, just making sure. And I remember low crawling out, and like I had this gnarly like heat rash.
Yeah.
Or like chemical rash, because like, like when wallpaper or just fucking lead paint melts, it's not good. Because now it's in the smoke.
Yeah.
And it's not good. And I remember like, this is back before I wore a tactical vest. I had my normal bulletproof vest under my shirt.
Yeah.
And I remember like, I just had this like red sunburn where my vest was, because that's where all the heat got trapped. It was just gnarly. And I remember, I think the paramedic said, I can't remember all of it. My oxygen level was at like 3, but it's supposed to be like 21 or 22 or some shit, right? And I can't remember who drugged me out of there, or once I got out, somebody helped me and they put me in the ambulance and got me some fucking oxygen, right? And
God, man.
And like, hey, are you good? I'm like, I'm good, man. I'm like, I was still when I was young, dumb, full of cum, right? What my dad would say, don't get offended, call my dad. But I remember like that. I remember like I worked that entire night, went on my calls, all good. And then like the next morning in debrief, I'm getting pulled into the office, and there was a different LT, not our LT, that was on that night.
Yeah.
And he was like kind of reprimanding me and was like writing me up, giving me a little, like whatever the entry level write up is.
Yep. Little PAE.
And I don't know if he was trying to like prove a point because I was a young cop, that maybe it was just a little too eager to go like ball. Like, man, I was just getting after it. Whatever's going on, I'm coming at it face first.
Passionate about helping people, man.
Yeah, and just, maybe a little reckless. I don't know. But he's like, kind of like giving me a little write up, and he's telling me that like, hey, anytime that happens to you and you have to be seen by paramedics, like, you're not supposed to work the rest of the night. More or less drive your fucking patrol car around.
Yep.
And I understood the point. The point I didn't understand was, you heard me on the radio all night.
Where were you?
Why didn't you just get me on a TAC channel and say, hey, Grimes, hey, get your ass in here for a minute. I gotta holler at you. And then sit me down and go, hey, man, great job tonight.
Yeah, go home the rest of the night. Rest.
But you can't, like, listen, buddy, somebody needs to pick you up. You can't even drive home.
Yeah.
Per policy, per whatever. You had to be seen by paramedics. Like, you're now on rest or whatever that, and he's like, the first question he had for me was, do you read the directives? And I was like,
oh, you talking like that 300-page
fucking 100 directives that you guys send out 5,700 of them a fucking week while we're working, and you want me to read 1,000-page directive? No, we don't. I don't.
Yeah.
But I didn't say that. I said yes, as in I signed them. And he just said, somewhere there's a policy for that. And I'm like, cool, man. And I understand, hey, man, I'm not saying it's a bad policy. Great. I just didn't understand, like, why didn't you just get me on a TAC channel?
Just let me know.
Have me come into the office and go, hey, are you married? Do you have a girlfriend? I'm going to have another patrol guy drive you home. Do you live close? Hey, buddy, you can't work once you get seen by medics and I think it has something to do with oxygen. It wasn't just that you can't be seen by a medic. It was like something to do with oxygen levels and whatnot. Like, they don't know if you're going to fucking pass out 2 hours later. And it's like, yeah, man, that makes so much sense. I just don't understand why you sat here in your fucking office
and did nothing
and listened to me on the radio all night on my calls, and then just you'd rather write me up in the morning versus. That was the first time I ever felt like, where am I at, man?
Yep.
Like, what's up with that? Not to get too dramatic or negative, but like the dichotomy of just some of those things. And, and the reason why I bring that up is we do a lot of dangerous shit in that realm. And if you're not doing it for the right reasons, if you're not honed in on like why you want to do that career and who you're doing it for, little shit like that, because there's nobody specific, but there's cops that are great cops, and they get challenged or some bureaucracy bullshit happens, and then they tap out. They go, you know what? I'm gonna sit here in my fucking car and I'm gonna answer my calls for service, and you're not gonna get any extra fucking cop out of me. And that's like death to a cop, man. It's like, you need those good dudes, and like stuff like that. It's just like, it'll take the spirit right out of a good one, and like I feel like that sometimes like that can affect it. And if you're not really in tune with why you're doing it in the first place, it'll fuck with you, man.
I tell the recruits that all the time, right? Remember your why. And when you're going through hard times, we're not going to hand anything to any one of you. I happen to be one of the sergeants assigned out at the police academy right now, and I've been there for 8-9 months, and that's a new realm for me, man. I've been on the road the majority of my career, and I love training. And I was training in the field training capacity for majority of my career. Went to the PAR unit for a little bit, and oh my God, that was not my jam. That's all I'll tell you.
You're good looking. You got your dimples. You're perfect for the people, bro. You're perfect for the barbecues.
I had to. I didn't stick in PAR, so I end up testing.
You're like the white Mario Lopez, isn't he?
Is that no, man? Mario's got better hair, baby. He's got way better hair, and he's better at jiu-jitsu than me. That's what I'll say. So that guy can roll in BJJ.
You're still the white Mario.
The white Mario. Right? Is it Mario or Mario?
I gotta know. Did you like? Are those born?
Dude is totally genetic.
But then, like, is there anything you do to maintain them over time, or they just
not a thing,
like
dude? It's like I've been told it's like some issue with the
disease.
muscle. I don't know disease. I think it's a musculature issue. Eli,
I think it's an insertion point. Like there's probably some like muscular insertion point.
I think that's what it is.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
I'm not making it up. Not disease ridden, but there's definitely some
That's
kind
just
of
me
musculature.
wishing I have little ones.
You're a good looking face though.
I have them. I just never smile. You know, I'm always so focused.
You are definitely focused. Will, so check it out, man. When we do the Bearded Monkey podcast, I like asking questions of the guests, right?
Sure.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to sit across from you because I've learned a lot of shit from you along the way. Going through this, I want to get a little bit of your origin story, what makes Will who you are, right? First off, where did you grow up?
Here.
Colorado.
Yep.
Where did you go to high school?
Oh, man, that's personal.
Okay, in the Denver metro area.
100%.
Copy.
Yeah.
And you played sports.
Whatever ghetto spot you can find, it's probably got my name on it. Yeah. No, and I don't mind. I went to Aurora Central here in Colorado.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I'm a real local. Yeah,
big time local. Okay.
I was Aurora Central buddy back in like 2000 to 2003. Just
so
real hot buddy, just 9/11, but just gangs. G5 was like a big gang.
Okay.
Back then, you had Park Hill Bloods were always in and around Central. Oh yeah, man, that was interesting.
What'd you do in high school? What'd you play?
Football, baseball.
Were you any good?
Yeah, a little bit.
What'd you play in football? What position?
Running back.
Okay, playing weight back in the day, because right now you're walking around at what, 230?
238.
Yeah, that's a pretty good guess.
That was
right?
good. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So you played running back.
Uh-huh.
Bowling motherfuckers over. That's pretty much what
you
did. All right.
Yeah.
Any defense, or was it all offense?
Safety. Yep.
Safety on defense. So I played safety, but I'm a little small.
I was a good sized kid, man. I was 6 foot, 195 out of high school.
Okay, that is definitely a good 30 pounds heavier than I was.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's good.
So you finished that. What made you decide to serve something bigger, man? Why the
Well,
Marine Corps?
I went to JUCO for a bit with baseball.
Okay. So that was first.
That was first, and then from there I got an opportunity to do a walk on for the Marlins organization.
Damn.
And that was, and that's what I joke about. I mean, so my pro baseball career was like 5 minutes.
It's 5 minutes longer than mine.
Yeah. 100%, right? Like by 5 minutes. Mostly, like, you know what I mean? Like, but I was completely not ready for that realm. I didn't understand the business of it. I was out of my own comfort zone. There was no, like, where I went to school, there was no prep for professional sports or collegiate sports. Like, there just wasn't much support or scope there.
And the money pool is not the same.
Well, and you're broke when you're first, like, dude, I got a walk on because of one of our position coaches from our JUCO. And that was just a better route for me. I wasn't into the grades. I wasn't into homework. I wasn't into school. Nope. I wasn't into the grade thing. Like, JUCO was not going to go well. But I was left-handed and I threw the ball 91.
Yeah.
So there's like, well, hey, fucking me, go. It's like, and because baseball has the minor league systems, like, you have a chance there. You don't have to go fuck around. And most great baseball players, like Bryce Harper, he went to junior college. And people don't understand how competitive junior college is because they don't understand the farm leagues. You go to a university, you're committed until you complete your junior year.
I had no idea that he went to JUCO.
If you go to junior college,
okay,
you can be in the draft or walk on to pro baseball either year. And then if you don't get picked up by the pros your first 2 years of JUCO, then you transfer to a university as a junior, but you got great development from JUCO. Dude, the Junior College World Series is fucking legit, bro. Like, the hitters go to JUCO because they're trying to get to the league because we have minor leagues. No other sport has that. And professional organizations, they want you in the farm so they can start getting you around their coaches and their organizations to make you a pro player. So I had a left-hander's chance because I threw hard. I had a great curveball, and I'm left-handed. Completely not fucking mentally ready for that. And I had a buddy pass away in Iraq. And
so you're playing baseball. Buddy joins military.
A buddy that I knew that I went on runs with, and him and I would kind of like work out together senior year. We'd go on runs together, and like he was way more excited about the Marine Corps than I was baseball. His brother was a Marine. His brother was a part of OIF 1. And like he was just so proud to be a part of this fucking big gun club that his brother was around for, and it was just cool. So like when I was just kind of burnt out on baseball, I reflected a lot on that, like how excited I was. Like, but I didn't know how to swim. I'd never shot a rifle, but I was like, it was like that's gonna be a challenge.
So you did not grow up around guns?
No, man. My dad was a Marine, but my mom was a hippie, so we just didn't have
God, opposite end of the spectrum. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We didn't have guns in the house. Yeah, go figure. Look at me. Hey, mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So when I left baseball, I came home. I started asking my dad questions about the military, and he finally was like, "Are you like looking to join?" Because you came home.
Yeah.
My dad wasn't even fully aware of my opportunity with baseball. My dad and I struggled a little bit with our relationship in high school, and a little bit after high school. Like my dad didn't even know what I was doing with baseball at the time.
Normal teenage angst, or was it
Even just farm league opportunity, buddy. Like he didn't even know that.
But I mean, like the beef you guys had, was it just normal teenage angst, or was
Maybe.
it something? Do you think it was worse?
No, it was like he went to every little league game
Okay.
and all
So
that.
he's
Owned his own
supportive.
business, but like my dad worked in like telecom.
Okay.
So when the space shuttle blew up on national television in the 80s, anyone in and around NASA got laid off. So he had to create his own business. He couldn't work for, I think he was working for Johnson & Johnson or Lockheed Martin or somebody, and got laid off and just had to create his own business. So he did, and he made it to dude, we were a Little League World Series team for Steamboat, and
Damn.
did a lot of cool shit, and he was at every game. He took me to tournaments. Well, then his business, he decided to stop doing his business, or it just wasn't working out, and it affected him, and I didn't know that. I'm getting ready to be a freshman in high school, and he decided to go be a truck driver and then be an owner operator. And long story short, man, like I went from seeing my dad at every single game to like my dad made maybe 3 games in 4 years.
Well, he's on the road.
And I wasn't mad about it. Like I appreciated his, like I knew he's fucking working, man. He's supporting. But what I didn't understand, what I wasn't mature enough to really see was what space between people do. And then when he'd come home, you got 3 fucking kids in the house. We're all teenagers. My dad's used to being on his nice quiet truck, listening to fucking Jim Rome or some fucking, I don't fucking know. And having his own peace and quiet. My dad's more of a quiet guy anyway. And then you come home to that fucking concert, you know what I mean? Like, and it fucking pissed him off, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was like, if you're talking when it's not a commercial break, he's fucking pissed, like.
He's not happy.
But I don't think it was the show. I think it was just more so just like you're walking back into, my mom was a talker, I'm a talker, my sisters are interesting, it's like a real shit show, like not of like bad, but just, man, it's a lot. It's like it was a lot. Then my sister got pregnant young, one of my oldest sister.
You have 2 sisters total,
Yep.
right? Okay.
And she did great, man. That sister, great with academics. She went to the fire academy, but my mom helped a lot with her daughter to make sure, her granddaughter was taken care of, because they wanted my sister to still get her education. And, my sister does great today, man. She works on the federal side, on the medical side
cool,
for the feds. And she was a firefighter for a little while. So it all worked out great. But like back then there was just a lot going on in the house. And I feel like as a teenage guy, not having your dad as like somebody that you talk to or lean on, because he's busy, he's gone, for a month or 2 at a time. Then he's only home for a week, and when he's home, you're just trying not to piss him off. It affects the relationship more than you think, and then like it just created some animosity, and
No, I get it.
we just ended up talking less. And like we're fine now. He's grandpa, he's crushing, and we're good.
He's still in Colorado.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
But I just didn't talk a lot about baseball after I graduated high school, because I felt alone, man. Like think about being like the Gatorade Player of the Year and not even having like any of your coaches write you letters
Oh yeah.
of recommendation for colleges. And I didn't even know I was supposed to reach out to colleges as a player. I thought they come see you. I didn't know I was supposed to reach out.
It's especially difficult.
When I've got friends that are, and I got friends that are coaches, man. They reach out to colleges for their players.
Yep.
That never happened for me. Like I only had an opportunity at a JUCO because of one of our old stud catchers who went to Central, and I think he played a little bit of minor league, and then he was a coach down there. His dad still lived in the neighborhood and would come watch high school baseball. And he called his kid, who used to go to our school, that's now a coach for Otero, like, hey, there's a kid where you used to go to school that's crushing. And I remember his dad asked me where I was going to school. I said, I don't know. Like, and he goes, what do you mean you don't know? I said, I don't know. He goes, I'm going to call my son. We got to get you. Bro, his father drove me down there. Within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like drove me down to meet the assistant coach, who was his son, and the head coach to give me a tryout, to get me on at that JUCO. If it wasn't for that, I never would have even had that opportunity. And like, dude, I think like I didn't want to go to school. Fucking school. I was like a liberal arts major in junior college. Like, go figure. Like, you know what that is? I had two of my classes were coaching classes. Go figure, okay? And I got an opportunity to just take a shot, like at the professional side. So I took the leap and I took a shot, and it was too much.
Damn.
You know, all good. You know, but like, and I got to pee really quick. So just pause, and then can we come back?
Yep. Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, buddy.
No, you still.
I know.
Boom.
Back? Cool. All right, we're back. So just couldn't, I just wasn't ready for that. So I come home, talking to my dad and asking military questions. My dad was a Marine. You know, my grandfather, World War II veteran, served with General Patton, like Silver Stars, Bronze Stars. And I never really dove into
Served
that.
with General Patton.
Yeah. Dude, my
God.
grandfather shot planes, like a plane down with a Tommy gun on a bridge in France. Like,
You will never be as badass as that
Ever.
man. I mean, what do you do?
nothing. It's just like you do something different. But I'd never really asked my dad about like that side of our family or just military questions, because growing up, he was just real supportive that I was playing sports and playing baseball, and as far as that was going to go, and then I just started having a dream of being a pro baseball player, and my dad's cool with that. You know, he didn't force me one way or another, but I started asking questions once I come home, and my dad was finally like, "Are you fucking?" And he didn't say fucking. My dad doesn't really cuss. A little bit. He's like, "Are you thinking of like joining? Is that why?" Because I was probably asking him questions all fucking weekend, you know, when I was home, and I was like, "Yeah, like I'm thinking about it." And he's like, "All right, well, just, you know, like let me know how I can help." And he's like, "But I encourage you to like, you know, go talk to every branch.
Amen.
You know, just go get, you know, perspective on every branch and yada yada." Like, all right, cool. And so I do that, and I'm looking at, you know, Air Force and Navy and Coast Guard, and you know, I'm kind of chatting with some friends. I go back to Foot Locker where I've got some friends. I used to work there in high school. I'm chopping it up and just thinking about some things. And I remember like the Marine Corps recruiter from my high school was still around. She was cool. So I went up and I just ended up going and taking the ASVAB on the Marine Corps side, because I knew her, and you know, so I took it, and I did pretty well. And I remember like my dad was like, "Cool." Like, so we're looking at it. He's like, "Look at all these things you qualify for." Like I qualified to do anything outside of like two things.
Damn.
Yeah. Like I did decent, you know, and he's like talking to me about these like intel and all this shit that is, buddy, it ain't me. It ain't me. Right. Like, and I was just disinterested and stuff. And then, he's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And we went back to kind of like talking about different branches, but I knew that he knew I went with the Marines to go test. And I made a comment about like just some of the recruiters downtown at MEPS just weren't in shape. And I just didn't like that.
You talking about Marine Corps recruiters?
No, fuck no.
Oh yeah, I was like, hell
No,
dude.
I'm talking about the other branches. They just weren't in shape. But like the people I went with, the Marines, they were in shape.
Yep.
I liked that a little bit better. And I'm just like, you know what? But I'm blind. I'm trying to figure out where to go. And I kind of felt like my dad was like talking me out of the Marine Corps for a minute.
He's worried about you.
And then I don't know. I think he's worried about the Marine Corps. Because like, then I kind of pushed back a little bit. Like, why are you fucking keep talking about these? And he's like, "Well, you're asking college questions and you're asking these questions." And he's like, "Well, you go to the Marine Corps to be a Marine. You can go to all these other branches and they'll throw college in front of you. And it's not that the Marine Corps doesn't offer the same GI Bill. It's just that when you're you're committed to the Marine Corps." And he's like, "I was a Marine. You're committed to the Marine Corps and you're doing whatever is in the best interest of the Marine Corps. And if you happen to get some college time while you're in, great. Once you're out, you can use the GI Bill like anybody else." But he's like, "You go here to be a Marine." And that's exactly what the fuck I needed to hear. Because that's exactly what I was looking for. I just didn't know. But what I was like looking for was like just something to like kind of belong to and just challenge myself with. And, you know, so then I just decided to go that route. And he's like, "All right, cool." And then he starts talking jobs again. And I'm just not interested. And he's like, "Well, have you decided? Have you decided what you're going to do?" And I was kind of pussyfooting around. And just like, "Yeah." Well, he was like, "Well, what about, you know, this?" And then he was just like, you're gonna go to the infantry, aren't you?" You know, and I was like, "Yeah." I was still, "Yeah, well, you know." And he's like, "You want to fucking run up and down hills screaming oorah?" I'm like,
Pretty sure I do.
Like, I don't know. But here's what I wanted. Like, I had a vision. Like, once I got attached to the Marine Corps, I had a poster in my room my entire life. Because like for like kindergarten, you could dress up for career day. And I always wanted to wear my dad's camis for career day. And my mom was like, absolutely not. Put your John Elway shit on. I had the fucking Bronco helmet. You used to be able to get a little uniform in a box.
For sure. Yeah.
My mom was like,
unfortunately, I had a Raiders jersey.
There you go. Go figure.
What do you do?
But my mom was like, hey, you're a kid. We don't condone that. That's not to be played with. Go be John Elway. So, but and my mom was cool. It had like Marine Corps posters in my room and stuff and all good. And
yeah,
I just had this perception, no disrespect to any MOS in any branch. I just had the perception of what I envisioned a Marine being, and I wanted to go do that job.
Yep.
And it just happened to be that, and did some cool stuff. But yeah, man, that's kind of how it happened, was just completely not prepared for the next level of baseball and mentally, and wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself. And I remember my buddy, just how proud he was to go. And I kind of leaned into that for some direction because I didn't have any direction.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, maybe that could be for me. Yeah.
Where you ended up going, obviously, did you go Paris Island? Where'd you go?
Like for boot camp?
For basic.
Yeah, Camp Pendleton was for boot camp.
Camp Pendleton.
Because you go to East Coast, I think if you're on the east side of the Mississippi River.
Okay.
So anyone on the east side of the Mississippi goes to Carolina.
All right.
And then if you're on the west side of the Mississippi River, you go to Camp Pendleton.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah.
And then you had a couple of specialties that you were specifically skilled in, right? So talking.
Yeah, and I don't get too specific into that stuff. You know,
Okay.
like I went to the infantry. You know, yeah. I was a part of a fast platoon, which is super cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I was attached to special operations.
Badass.
And you know, when people say like like MARSOC, I go, no. MARSOC is the Marine Corps' actual special, like MARSOC is Marine Corps Special Operations Group. Like that's for sure. That's the Marine Corps.
For sure.
You've got special operations entity outside of all branches, right? And like our fast platoons were attached to special operations. Now you've got an actual entity, just like the SEALs or paratroop, whatever you call it, like the Marine Corps has MARSOC now, right?
Badass.
So,
okay.
But that was prior to, you know, or that came after like me being a part of like a fast platoon and things like that. And then I think MARSOC was coming around maybe 2008, 2009.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And this is when I was a lead instructor for division schools.
Okay.
Right? So this is where I did that. This is where I was at Urban Assault Leaders course, which is awesome. It was a leadership course for squad leaders. And we were just training everything, man. Combined arms. I was my emphasis was like counter sniper observations or operations. And then just squad leader operations. And that was cool, man, because that's where I really started to learn how to articulate like how we do something. How do you create lesson plans out of that? How do you create training? How do you create, you know, a continuum of force, judgment into training? How do you measure progress? Like what, you know what I mean? Like all of those things. And that was really cool. That's been a huge benefit as like far as like my career now being back in leadership and real estate. That helps a ton with like just how much nurturing we got from our leadership in the Marine Corps to then have to literally write doctrine that gets turned into books for the Marine Corps, but taking Marines through.
Well, they're all about developing, man.
Yeah, but it's interesting, right? Because like we talk about development all the time, but it's like, well, what is that? It's like, fuck. Like I heard Bill Belichick talking about it the other day, and he's like, yeah, man, you can run up and down the field and run your fucking 60s all you want, but that's not going to make you a better football player. You need to know specifically what you need to work on, and then how to work on the things you need to work on, and then do that. It's like, it gets way more specific when it comes to like, how do I improve? Fuck, great question, right? Like, and you just have to have a great foundation. You got to have great framework, and there's also has to just be a certain entry level of competency depending on what you're trying to get people to accomplish. Because does that make sense? Like,
it does.
Learning all of that. And like, that's where I first started doing public speaking, was as an instructor in front of, you know, guys that were coming to our course. And this was a leadership course. So you had sergeants, staff sergeants, gunnery sergeants. Like if you were full of shit, they'll just call you out while you're talking.
Yeah.
You know, and some of these guys were coming back from deployments and had recent knowledge of just what's going on there. So even though you were an instructor, you still had legit guys coming through the school that might teach you a thing or two as far as like what's going on overseas. And then it was up to the instructors to really figure out how can we create training around what the most recent attack from the enemy is, and then turn that into part of the curriculum. You know, like it was just, it's high speed shit, bro.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing more high speed in my opinion than like combat arms. Just combined arms, combat arms of just infantrymen and any other thing attached in support of to just conduct combat operations at a high level, buddy. Like between all the tech that has to happen and convoys and communications between different units and tactics and getting it down to the individual Marine thinking and acting appropriately based off of what needs to happen at scale. Like it's the smartest fucking guys I've ever met in my life were infantry commanders.
I like it.
And I've met a lot of fuckers, bro.
Was it ever an option to make it a career? Or were you kind of thinking, nah, long term, I'm out?
I never went in thinking I was going to be a career guy.
Okay.
And then when you're in, you're not really thinking about what you're going to do when you get out. Like all of a sudden, like your, what do you call it? Your EAS day or whatever. Like it starts coming. You're like, oh,
it does.
I could get out.
Do I get out?
Oh, fuck. Am I going to get out? Like,
yeah.
Like I ended up like doing some mercenary work for a bit.
Okay.
Did not like, I don't even speak about that.
Yeah.
Didn't like, no disrespect. That was not, it was just a different experience for what I thought it was going to be based off of my impression from the Marine Corps. Yeah. And at that point, I just kind of wanted to just come back home, man, and just, let me reset. Let me come back home and get around family. I didn't know what I was going to do when I got home as far as like personally. I just felt like it was just time to come back after a fucking decade or whatever. And so when I was first deciding, okay, I'm coming home, well, what else am I going to do? So I applied for the fire departments. I applied for
I did not even know that you had applied for fire. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I applied for all. I didn't give a fuck, bro.
Yeah,
like whatever's tactical. Like I didn't, like I was a Hearst master in the Marine Corps. That's the helicopter rope suspension tactics. Like you
Jesus,
rappel and jump out of helicopters. Like I learned how to tie all the knots and throw fuckers out and then throw myself out. And so like when it came to like the firefighting, it's like, yeah, I'm not like terribly comfortable with heights, but I'm comfortable enough to be a Hearst master and do things in and out of helicopters. And it's like, all right, I could do the fucking ladder rappel shit. Fuck. All right. I submitted for that. I submitted for the sheriff's department, submitted for the police departments, and police department got rogered up. I tested out. Matter of fact, I think so back then, man, there was like 2,000 applicants.
Oh, they had insane numbers, man.
Yeah, and I was number one for the Aura board. This is when they still did Aura boards for part of the interview process,
They started doing them again. Thankfully.
Fucking good.
We need it. Does that
what do you mean
make sense?
If you can't stand and talk in front of people at a certain level at all, you can't be a cop.
That's the job, man. Communication.
But that's where I excelled because they kind of give you a written test like an ACT when you do it, right? So I think I scored an 84 on it, which is like you're way down in the pack, buddy. Like out of 2,000 people, you're scoring 80. Like imagine how many people were probably 85% or better, right? So
scholars, but they can't talk.
Right. So the situational test I did really well at, and then the Aura board, I was the number one candidate. We had the mayor or the governor sitting in. We had the police chiefs. Like it was like the police chief, the mayor or the governor, whoever's in the city building.
Probably the mayor at that point, or
so
city
mayor,
manager. Yeah.
So no, it was the mayor.
Mayor. Okay.
Older guy, mayor, our police chief, and like two other people. A sergeant. There was a sergeant police officer in there, and somebody else. And that was because when you first, I don't know how it was for you, but when I walk, you go up the elevators when they it's like your time. You either go straight into that room, you go left into that room, or you go right into that room because they had 3 rooms all going with interviews, and they had 4 people in each room. And the one that I got just, hey, you're going there.
Yep.
Was chief, mayor, sergeant, and like a lieutenant or somebody in there. And I didn't even know if I crushed or not. I was just. When they'd ask me a question, I wasn't gonna say
Yeah.
You're not gonna get me to say I was okay with comfortable silence because I was like teaching as an instructor, but it helped. And I like the way my brain worked and how I would break down a question fundamentally to answer it. And I think that's what really got me the opportunity was I made up a lot in points by being the number one overall Aura board.
Just being you, man.
Yeah.
You were just who you are. At one point in time, obviously you had left the law enforcement profession. This would have been, do you remember what year would that have been?
15 or 16.
So you bounced. And I remember when you left, you initially, this is where I really like where you went with things.
Yeah.
Honestly. So as you come at it, initially you had not come up with day one $0. You had to come up with.
No, I went to my buddy's fitness company.
That's okay. So the first spot that you went to after law enforcement was that Fit Republic.
They were brick and mortars. They were like GNC, but they were called Fit Republic. My buddy owned them. He had like 2 stores, and he had just gotten a franchise. He had just gotten it licensed and approved to be a franchise, and asked me to come on to be number 2, to be the director of operations for it. And yeah, man, I was passionate about fitness from like a mental standpoint and just the community around it. And like, dude, I think I was just kind of tired of running and gunning, man. There was a couple cops I didn't care for. I had a partner that I just didn't care for too much on my way out.
That's the worst.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like it wasn't just him individually. I think like between the Marine Corps and some mercenary work and it's just different things, man, it was just like time to just do something different. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Little Fit Republic, sales, doing all that spiel, did all that.
We crushed it. Yeah, we went from 2 to 14 stores in 2 years.
Why leave Fit Republic?
Wasn't mine. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Wasn't mine.
You did indicate your dad had done a little bit of the business. He had dabbled in some of this.
Yeah.
That's, I'm assuming, where you got your first.
Unbeknownst to me, man, I've kind of followed my entire family's path. Like my grandpa from World War II that we talked about, right? Well, when he got out of back from the war,
yep,
he was a sheriff for a while, or highway patrol.
Okay.
Then he owned his own fucking HVAC company. Forever. He was like air conditioner. I don't know if they called him HVAC back then, but like Eli would know, like air conditioners, whatever. Like he owned his own fucking company for my dad did. And then on my mom's side, my grandpa on my mom's side ran half of Colorado. He was a county coroner, owned a mortuary, a ton of stuff. So like I do come from like a entrepreneurial background. I just never saw myself doing that. Matter of fact, like I'm at Fit Republic and I'm cranking like 16 hours a day, buddy. And we're, because I'm in the gym twice a day, then we're doing stuff for the actual stores and training stuff. Then I'm out meeting people and getting people to purchase franchises and spreading the word. And like, I think I snapped at Kate one time, or just kind of in a mood. And she was just, Kate's father, he sold his company to Hewlett Packard.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So they're like entrepreneurs, and she has a great relationship with her father. So she grew up around entrepreneurship. So when she's like dating me, and this is like my second year with Fit Republic, and I don't know if I got short with her or something, but something triggered her to go, you ever wonder if you work 16 hours? I think I was butting heads with Kurt a little bit. I was coming home talking about it. That's what it was. I was butting heads with Kurt a little bit. He was the owner, and we're still good friends. Good dude. Just butt heads, man. Like I'm number 2, you're number 1. We're growing this fucking company. Like you're going to butt heads. Yeah. I remember coming home and like talking about it. And she was just like, hey, you ever wonder like, if you work 16 hours a day on your own thing, what that would be? And I was like, no, I literally, fuck, no. Like I've always been within frameworks, military, police. I've always excelled within a framework, but I've never set out to just create my own. But that was the beginning of the end for there. And, decided to move on, and Kurt was super supportive, man. And, then I was off to real estate.
Real estate initially, was that something that you had always had a passion for? I know we joked about passion, man.
Guy's gotta be so gay. God,
I had to sneak it in there, Will.
Why are you gay?
No, man. Like
that is definitely.
Here's what happened, dude. I didn't know what I wanted to do when Kate said that. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, do my own fucking thing. Like I had no idea what that would be, but I had a buddy, Alex Chapman. He's still in real estate today, and he crushes. And he runs an organization called Fitness on the Rocks. It's a big fitness expo at Red Rocks.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him about, leaving, do my own thing, but not sure what I want to do. He's like, well, dude, come. We're getting ready for Fitness on the Rocks. Why don't you just come sell some vendors for my event while you're thinking about what you're going to do? And I'm like, cool. And I'm like, what do you do outside of this? He's like, dude, he was a manager at 24 Hour Fitness, but his big thing was Fitness on the Rocks. But he's like, I'm leaving, man. I'm going into real estate, Or no, he had just gone into real estate because he was in it for about 6 months or 3 months at that point. And he's like, buddy, I'll keep you posted. But I was like, from what I can tell, you need to get your license. You're going to crush this. I go home, I talk about Kate. I talked to it with Kate, and she's like, yeah, I've got some friends that do it, and you would crush. And, the one thing I'll give myself credit for when they were giving me the ideas was I didn't latch on. Like, I've never been a big person about titles. Like, I don't need to be a title. Okay. I don't need to be CEO. I don't need to have a badge on. I've never been into titles.
Okay.
So when they were telling me about real estate, I was open-minded to the business side and what makes people great at it versus I'm not a soccer mom. Oh, you want me to go be a realtor? That's stupid. I never thought that ever. These were two people that cared about me, that knew me, and were giving me something that they thought, and I was open-minded to it. And I just started leaning into like, great, what makes people great at this? And I didn't have a better idea. I just didn't, man. So like, but I leaned into like what they thought of me and where my value was and where they felt like I could shine. Well, fuck, let's give it a go. You know, and I committed to 12 months of like, hey, I'm going to work as hard as I can at something because I know how to work hard. I know how to dive in once I start getting used to some things. I know how to make pivots. Like, let's just dive in for a year, you know, and give it all I got. And either it's going to work or I'm going to meet someone or something within that will take me in a direction that will work. But it's just part of just making pivots and seeing your path. And yeah, man, fuck, it worked. I met this fucking guy. And
well, you had always told me about, Cody, instead of or, how about make it and? And you had always talked about that. You go, well, why does it have to be just this? How about this and this and this and this?
100%.
Learn along the way, right? Don't be afraid. Just put yourself out there, start doing your thing. And I've taken that to heart. I truly have, man.
Yeah.
And running with Bearded Monkey Tactical like I'm doing, and then running with the podcast and doing all those things, it has been a constant work in progress. And when you're working a full-time job or, 50, 60 hours a week or whatever, it can be a butt kicker, right?
Yeah.
But stick with it. Make 100%. Some forward progress every freaking day. And that's what stood out to me. Mm-hmm. I love where you went and how you pursued, okay, you go from Fit Republic. Now I'm going to this. Always some form of forward facing and educating people and everything, right? Always about helping people in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, yes, to an extent, right? Like, I didn't open my fucking mouth in real estate till we hit top 1%.
Jesus Christ.
Once we hit top 1% in the world for Berkshire.
That's right, Berkshire Hathaway.
That's where I started,
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
But Eli and I partnered with Eli probably 3 months in. He saw me. I actually met Eli. Eli just gave me his time right before, like when I was studying for my license. I just hit him up because I knew him from Facebook. I was like, hey man, I see you in real estate. Like, I know you're part of the fitness world as well. Like, we'd just love to pick your brain on real estate. He's like, yeah, cool, dude. Let's meet at Panera Bread. So we just met, and then like, I reached out to him again.
Yep.
After like being in the game for 3 months and 2 or 3 months. I'm like, hey man, I got my license, and he's like, oh shit, you actually did it. Like, because a lot of people don't.
Yep.
He's like, well, how are you doing? I was like, dude, I've done 5 deals so far. And he's like, fuck.
Jesus.
And I just joined his team. Like, I left the brokerage I was at to go to Berkshire, not for Berkshire, for Eli. Because he had just started his team. And we were acquaintances on social media. And I saw him doing video. And like, when I was at Fit Republic, dude, we were great at video. We were great at events. We were great at building culture. And I knew, man, not too many people are doing that in real estate. But that's good. And this is where it's cool to be an industry disruptor. It's good to be new. It's good to bring in skill set and perception from a different marketplace into something because you can be ahead of the game. And people I was talking to at the brokerage I was at, they were just shutting it down. They're just like, nah, man, I don't think so. I'm like, fuck, man. Like, no, like, I might be new to real estate, but I'm not new to like understanding people and community and right. Like, Eli had just started his own team. He had like one person on the team, but he made a Facebook announcement. I was like, I'm going to hit that guy back up.
So Eli, you were a broker at the time?
Team leader.
Not a broker.
Okay.
Yeah, just and literally I'd been licensed for a year. I had the intention from day one of getting licensed that I wanted to start a team because I was like, that's how you scale in real estate, right?
Yeah.
And then, got a year in and then just put that post up. And yeah, like when we'll mention that, we met at Panera.
Yep.
That happens all the time, dude. Like how many people are thinking about getting licensed and all this, so we talked for like an hour. I left that meeting being like shaking my head, like, what the fuck just happened, right? Like interesting, right? Just sitting down and talking to.
He's like, it's gonna go real good or real bad with this guy. Fuck it.
And but yeah, like he said, like 3 months went by, and normally you don't hear anything, right? And I didn't hear anything from him that time. And now knowing Will too, it's like that. Also looking back on it, I was like, oh, fucking weird, didn't hear anything the whole time. But then the next time he hit me up was that what he just said of like, hey man. Yeah, I got 5 deals in, this and this and this. Yeah. Like, oh, fuck, man. Yeah,
and there was just nothing to hit him up about, man. Like, am I going to keep fucking nagging the guy? He gave me time.
Yep.
I asked my questions at lunch. I'm going to go figure it out. And like, I'm not going to reach back out until there's a need to reach back out. But when him and I, met back that second time, I was just like, hey, man, I saw you started a team. Here's where I'm at. Here's the deals that I've been doing. And like, I also see that you're just doing video. And like, man, I know that that's a thing. I'm really good at stuff like that from my prior career. And can I join your team?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, great. Join the fucking team. Like, and then, after working the team together for a while, we ended up just partnering where we just co-owned, the team. But, and these are interesting questions, man, because people hear me talk all the time. So it probably just seems like I'm just a fucking know-it-all or talk, but it's like, I talk within the lanes that I know based off of because I've done it, but there's plenty of time where like, yeah, I didn't come to Eli and just go like, hey, we should team up and I should be a fucking co-owner. Like, no, I just asked to have a spot on the fucking team.
Yeah.
you know, and I didn't ask for time from him. Like I just did my fucking thing. Like, and then after him seeing me perform, he's just like, hey dude, we got to do this together, man. Like,
and by perform, it was like the first phone call I heard him take, like next to me, and probably literally like day one, I heard him like navigating.
I was unfucking a lender.
He was. He was navigating this conversation with the lender, and just hearing him, the way he articulated and handled that conversation. Like he hung up the phone, and I literally turned to him and said, hey, where'd you learn to like talk like that, to have that conversation?
He's a natural.
And he gave me like a passive answer, like, man, you know, police work and just managing emotions and, you know, stuff like that. But it was that first phone call that I heard him take where I was like, man, there is something like different here. Right.
And at that point in time, was that when you guys formed Mile High Property Brothers?
No, that was Genesis Home Team.
Yeah, Genesis
so we were at
Home Team. Okay.
Yeah, we were at Berkshire for a couple years, and then, you know, just it's a franchise model, man. We're at EXP now, and it's global. So we can
and I
have
was going to ask that, why EXP versus Berkshire? Okay.
Yeah, like at Berkshire, you can only have agents if they're in that part of town, at that office, et cetera, et cetera. Like now, I mean, we got agents in 20 states, buddy. You can have agents in any state in the country, in 23 more fucking countries. Like our influence is bigger now. Like we just opened up with a ton of agents in California. We're partnering on an escrow company. Like those things are not possible when you're stuck in a franchise model. So like we went for the growth of it.
We did.
You weren't concerned. I mean, all this stuff going on. Anybody that's been on the planet for the last few years, real estate is probably not going as well as you would assume.
It's going great.
And that is what blows my mind, man. When we talk about interest rates are 6.5% or 7%. That none of that shit seems to bother you. You just keep running with whatever.
Well, there's just different markets, man. Like, you know, like when we first made our YouTube channel, we were crushing, you know, living in Denver and just showing different areas. And then interest rates were dropping a bit. And this was a couple of years back where like they were starting to get real low.
Yep.
And price points were going up.
Correct,
and a lot of people were making pivots. Like Elon and I were selling like $500,000 houses, $600,000 houses, and prices started going up in these areas. So like this $600,000 house, like remember Christine? I just saw her the other day. She bought it $630 in Blackstone. Yep. You don't fucking buy a $630 in Blackstone.
That's crazy.
They're $900.
Yeah, for sure.
Up, right? Like, but as prices were going up, him and I knew like, hey, we're just going to keep creating content and giving real estate education to consumers for the best areas to live in Colorado, regardless of whether the price points continue to go up or not. These are still the best areas to live, and it just set a tone for a higher qualifying client. Like Elon and I's average price point is $1 million+.
Jesus, man.
So now that interest rates are higher, it's like, hey, that people, you know, one, there's still equity on homes. So sellers give concessions for rate buy down. So if you're walking in at a 7, you can go to a 5 real quick because the seller will take some of their concessions, some of their profit, and they'll throw you $25,000 off to use that to buy your rate down 2 points. So you're walking in at a 5 for the first couple of years, right? Like, so there's ways to work around it. You can assume loans, things like that. But when you start getting into the upper price points and the more successful families or people at real estate that can afford $1 million+, an interest rate doesn't affect them as much because they're financially stable. So it's like, all right, we're going to buy $1 million house instead of a $2 million house. Does that make sense? And I'm not saying that to shun anybody. I'm just saying, like, of course it does. Like, and it's not that they don't care about the rate. Yeah. It's not. And then some people, they actually don't care because they know, like, all right, well, we're going to get into the home we want because there's some inventory out there and there's not as many buyers out there right this second. We have a chance to look and get the home we want. And in 2 years from now, during the election time, when rates come down to sway fucking votes and shit, and whoever wants to take credit for lower fucking rates, they'll just refi, man. Like, it's not. So, like, they'll take a higher payment for 2 years to get the home that they want to then just refi. But when you get into, like, some of the other, like, first-time home buyers and things like that, you know, they just don't have the luxury yet to afford that. It's like, hey, I can only afford $2,500 a month. So if that used to be able to get you a $500,000 home at a 2% interest rate, and now interest rates are at 7%, you're looking at $300,000.
Yeah.
Well, but my family can't fit in a home that's the size of $300,000. That's a townhome. Well, then they're still renting for a bit, right? So, like, there's just different things, but it's not just that, man. It's like we do investment properties. We still do our traditional sales and buys, like we're talking right now. You know, we have a couple hundred agents that work for us that we get rev share from.
Okay.
We have online courses that we sell. We have group coaching that we sell. We're investing into an escrow company, you know, that, like, so there's a lot of pay points. Like, there's probably 7 different ways Elon and I create income within the scope of real estate, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. So, like, when people say, like, how's the market? It's like, well, what market?
Yep.
Well, like if interest rates skyrocket, homes aren't moving, like great, but now and now it's time to go buy investment homes. So now we're buying a lot of off market homes. So when one market's not the best, another is great because that one's not good. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So there's an ebb and flow. But if you're going to be a realtor that just does traditional sales and buys, that's one dimensional. Yeah. And then you're going to be subject to whatever that market looks like at that time. You're kind of just the tail's wagging the dog at that point. Versus if you build it out, it's like Ela and I see it. There's always going to be transition in markets. It's really about recognizing what's happening in one and then how do we create inflex in another because of the downflex in this one. There's just patterns, man.
Every time we sit down and talk, I'm getting educated, man. So the way, and this is unique to successful entrepreneurs, I would think, because most people, their decisions are predicated on what the hell's going on, right? Big picture.
From what they can see.
Exactly.
There's a lot more going on than they can see. They just can't see it. They're not privy to it, right?
A guy like me, right? We sit down, we talk, and I'm like, God, Joe Biden's in office right now, and this guy is destroying the economy, right? And all this stuff is happening. It doesn't stop you. It doesn't stop either one of you.
Yeah, bro, I don't give a fuck.
Correct.
Not that I don't give a fuck. I just understand like this guy's not making my future, nor like I got to go create opportunity regardless of who's in office.
And that is what I love about what you guys are able to do.
But real estate's going to happen whether it's a bad president, good president, indifferent. Like people need to move.
Yep.
Investors are going to buy. That's going to be there regardless, buddy.
I love it.
Right? So like there, but again, it's like when you create 7 different ways to create income for yourself within one industry, it's like you're a little bit more stable. You're a cruise ship taking on waves versus a raft.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? Right? Like
Definitely
a lot of folks in the real estate space, man, like they're not entrepreneurs. They're just doing that realtor job, which there's nothing wrong with it. Yep. But you're self-employed. You're not an entrepreneur. You've created a job for yourself, and now you're just working bell to bell and like, yeah, man, like you haven't created a brand and a business out of it, and you're not broad enough to really withstand certain storms that come, right? Like, yeah.
No, for most, it's like the job is running them, and for you guys, that's just not the case, man.
Dude, we spent $25,000 before just to find out what we didn't want to do. Remember that, Eli?
God, man. Yeah.
Spent $25,000 to go to this private boot camp. I won't mention his name. Just so I could come back and Eli go, how was it? And I go, we ain't doing that. Great. Cost of fucking business, dude. And like, but I took some fundamentals from that guy of like, hey, I like how he does some things, but I'm not going to go. And this was for public speaking specifically, right? Like he's one of the bigger coaches around, and I was a part of his speaking team for just a bit. And like, but the way he was leaning me was to go be a speaker across the board. And then he's got this private boot camp, it's $25,000 for like 10 people to go. And hey, he's like, hey, I'm pulling the curtain back on everything about my business. No, you didn't. But you just showed us your playbook of how you create, how you speak. But I just had this epiphany of like, I'm not going to go speak outside of real estate right now. I've got too much success. We've got too many wins, too many people we can help within this scope. Man, I'm not done in real estate. Like I'm not going to go speak for some construction company to make $3,000. You know what I mean? Like, no, I'll speak for free and throw my own fucking events, but in my industry and attract agents. So like when I was out there, I was having this whole epiphany of like, no, man, we're just going to build real estate. We're going to build fucking agents. I'll speak for free. I don't need to make money speaking. I need to get in front of more realtors to attract them to our business, to our brand, to our brokerage. And we're going to make money that way. Okay. So that $25,000 loss per se created the epiphany of like, here's what we're going to do. And when I got back, we ran an event every fucking month for realtors. And we put 100 realtors into our fucking organization in 11 months, right? Like, so it was like, yeah, on the surface, it's a loss, but it created a pivot that then we made our money back and then some. But people can't stomach when they hear, like, you spent $25,000 to sit with someone for 2 days just to find out you didn't want to do it. Yeah, and what clarity that helps with. Because now I'm no longer confused about which direction I need to go, but like, this is the entrepreneur side, buddy, because not that many people are willing to go spend fucking money to figure shit out. They just want it for free, or they think they can figure it all out without spending a dime. And it's like, dude, between the Ryan Pinedas and everybody else, they'll tell you they've spent fucking millions with people and with marketing to figure stuff out. And, you know, if you're not willing to do that and stomach it,
and being in it for as long as you guys have been at this point, you tend to meet a lot of people. And along the way,
it's because the rate. So we've only been in this for 6 years. I've been in real estate.
Jesus, dude. Okay.
Yeah, but I've only been in real estate 6 years.
Okay.
But it's the pace that we're going, right? Like
just nonstop.
I tell people all the time, man, it's not the age, it's the miles. It's not the age and how long I've been here in real estate. It's the fucking miles I've put in within 6 years, right? Like if you know, does that make sense?
It does.
Like I don't care if you've been driving for 2 weeks at 30 miles an hour.
Yep.
If I've been driving for 1 week at 95 miles an hour, I'm completely on the other side of the fucking country than you are by now. Correct?
Yeah.
It's that, man. So it's like, that's where like, that's the whole pontification of like, time isn't real.
I like that word.
It's like, kind of. Yeah, because, you know, people talk like they fucking know where God is and what time is and like, shut up. Right? Like, you guys know all the fucking gurus online. We're like, you want to know how I get fucking more? Like, I invent time. I'm a time creator. How? Tell me. I wake up at 4. I work from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. on this. Then I go from 8 a.m. I get 3 days in one. No, motherfucker. You get 1 day in one. You're just doing more. Okay? Like, that's what I mean by pontification is like, you get these fucking rich guys that are uber successful, but then they just start changing the goalposts, or like they start changing the narrative on what got them there. And they start telling themselves these stories, and then they start having podcasts about fucking being a time shifter. And it's like,
you know what it reminds me of?
fuck,
dude?
man, shut the fuck up, bro. Like, you're not. You know what I'm saying? Like,
those same people are the ones that are into the grounding techniques.
But where
that
you
stand bare feet on the grass. And,
true,
and all
but
that
where
bullshit,
you
right?
do create time is by just, you know, like we talked about this the other day, being effective versus being efficient.
Okay. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
like being effective is what you do.
Yep.
Being efficient is how well you do it. You got to be effective first. Like Eli and I are not necessarily the most efficient at things when we start. We're significantly better than most people at deciding what we put our time into. Yep. Some people just aren't good at, like, we've got realtors that create YouTube channels like us, and then they're editing their own videos, and they're good at it. I'm like, hey man, you're really efficient, but that's not effective because now you're editing a video for 2 days.
And it's taking you away from
once your channel gets busy and you have buyers coming through, you got to help buyers. You got to go to inspections. You got to go to closings. You got to go through the appraisal process, and you still have to edit all the videos, and you got to go have time to still create video. Like, buddy, you're not going to have the time. Like, so no matter how efficient you are editing video, it's not effective because that's not, like, you're choosing to do the wrong thing. Eli and I, humbly, man, I feel like we tend to do pretty good at the decisions we make on what we're going to do, understanding, let's make the right decision first. And then by making the right decision and diving into it over time, you get efficient. But I want to get efficient in the right thing. So we're more focused on doing the right thing before a lot of folks, how they just sit on the fucking bench, buddy. And they're just over analyzing how to do something. They just never even get started because they're so busy analyzing how they should do it. And it's got to be fucking perfect, and versus just doing it, understanding, like, if I just do it and I'm paying attention to what I'm doing and I'm watching it, like, you'll get efficient. Damn, but a lot of folks just aren't effective with where they put their time. I think Eli and I are effective with where we choose to put. So that's where you can manipulate time. It's like you spend 6 months doing the wrong thing, and I spent 6 months doing the right thing. Yeah, I am ahead of you. Not because I had more time in the day, but I went down this time portal of productivity versus weeds. You know what I mean?
Oh, hell yeah. Here's... Anybody that knows me knows I'm a pretty big fan of Andy Frisella, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You had been on Andy Frisella's podcast. Was this MF CEO? This was his original podcast, I believe.
That, or was it Real AF at that point?
No,
I think it was Real AF.
It was Real AF. And this what we were like he didn't have guests on at this point. So
Right,
MF
and I was
CEO
gonna
was
ask
all
that.
guests. Yeah. So this was the tipping point to having guests on.
MS CEO was no guests.
Correct. Yeah.
How in the hell did this come about, Will?
Andy's a fucking amazing human.
He's a baller, dude.
He's just a nice guy, buddy. Like, we had our podcast, and we had him on first.
Okay.
And then people say, well, wait, how did you get Andy Frisella? And I go, I went to his website, and there was this button that said, think I'm a good fit for your podcast? Click below.
Yep.
So I clicked it.
Yep.
When I clicked it, it has this form that you fill out. You get to write some things to why Andy would be a good fit, right? And then you fill it out. So I filled it out. I submitted it to his team. I think his wife runs the team of, like, signing off on that. So about 4 weeks later, she hit me up and she goes, hey, this is so-and-so Frisella. She's like, Andy's wife, and we got your submission for him to be on your show. And I wrote who I was and stuff, so they kind of had to check into me to make sure I was who I was.
Yeah, for sure.
And she's like, hey, you know, we checked into you. You are who you say you are. And based off your description of the show, we think Andy would be great for your show. Andy goes on other people's podcasts, buddy, like via Zoom. But he's like going on small time podcasts to just give back to the fucking entrepreneur community, as long as it gets screened and they think he's a good fit for it.
For sure.
And that's just him being a good motherfucker, man. And then we had him on and we did a great interview because we're actually fans of his. We followed him. Eli introduced me to him. Eli was following the MFCEO project forever. So Eli's, he's been the longest Andy fan before me. I didn't even know who the guy was until a couple of years prior to him being on. He introduced, Andy showed me. I started listening and following Andy. And as we had him on the show, toward the end of the show, he's just like, man, you guys did a great fucking job. Like, you guys are cool motherfuckers. You should be on our show.
Yeah.
And I was like, we didn't know you had people. It's like, no, that's why we started Real AF. Like, we're going to start having guests. He's like, give me a month or so, but I'd love to have you guys out to be on the show.
Did he have DJ with him at that point in time?
Yeah.
Okay.
But dude, he didn't have to do that.
No, absolutely. And
He's
just
a fucking billionaire, fucking crushing. We're just these two realtor dudes. Like, he knew I was a military guy. He knew I did some cool shit there, but that didn't matter. He just was like, he was a fan. He's like, these two dudes are fucking hustling, man, and they're figuring it out and they're doing their thing. Fuck it, bring him out. And it's like, that's what I mean. He's just a good motherfucker, man. He didn't have to do that for us, but he did.
Will, you're paying it forward. I mean, look what you're doing.
Yeah, we've had people on ours, 100%.
Same thing. You don't have to do this,
right?
And you do. Both of you guys taking time out of your day. You don't understand how much I appreciate that. But I respect that.
Right. But that's the only way to be, dude. And like, it's cool that Andy at that level, he did that. So he's like, hey, hit my wife back up. Let her know what I said. So I emailed back just so lines of communication were good. Right. So like we did that. And then we went out and met Sal for Sal. Sal's a cool guy. He's a baseball guy. Sal played some pro baseball as well. And like, he's a cool cat. And it was fucking great. And like, I think I gained like 30,000 fucking followers after that, buddy. Like,
Jesus, dude.
For whatever reason, dude, I was getting fucking shirts. I was getting cookies at my house. Like, people found my address after they heard me on Andy Frisella's show. And just like, dude, your story resonated with me and whatever. And I remember I got cookies one time. I got some fucking shirts and shit from some dude that runs a mechanic shop. And I remember my wife, man, she was like, you're not going to eat those, are you?
Damn right I am.
And she's like, and I was like, nah, fucking crushed them, bro. Like, no, I'm not gonna eat them. Like, everyone goes to bed, I'm fucking eating milk and cookies at night. Like, but it was like cool. But like in that moment, it was like, hey man, that guy didn't have to do that. So you know what? Like, we're just gonna be guys like that too. Like we're just gonna be fucking dudes, man. Like, hey, we work hard and we work hard at our craft and we work hard to be proficient. We've got goals of accomplishments in business and whatnot. But like, we're still just gonna be dudes.
Yeah, man.
Throughout the process and just kind of like paying it forward. It was really cool to see a guy so dynamic and, people think he's so cocky or arrogant or whatever. And it's like, you're just misidentifying where the guy's passion comes from.
Completely.
His form of communication is more assertive, is more aggressive, but it doesn't mean that he cares less. It just means you're misinterpreting something with, like so many people are novice, right? Like they're so novice at understanding like deliveries of certain personalities, and you think a guy like that's not humble, and it's like, not true.
Not true.
He just might not be humble to you, because like he's also on his platform where he's giving something, right? Like when you're on a platform where you're speaking and leading, like, well, that's your role.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like I've met plenty of like guys, man. Like look at fucking Albert Pujols, great Hall of Fame baseball player, soon to be Hall of Famer. One of the most humble guys.
Yeah.
And he's always helping guys in the dugout, especially for his last couple of years when he was like on his way out. But when he gets up to that plate, like is he humble? Because you hear Mike Trout, you hear fucking Chipper Jones, and they all say when you step up to that plate, if you don't have it in you that you're the best fucking baseball player on the planet, you're done.
Yeah,
you got it. And he's like, maybe I'm not the best player, and Chipper Jones was just talking about this the other day. He's like, but in my mind, I was. Maybe I wasn't, but in my mind, I was. And Chipper Jones is the last guy in the past 100 years to bat 300, both left and right-handed. Like
stud.
But he's one of the most humble, fucking caring, giving guys. But like in that moment,
you're a big Braves fan, right?
I'm just a player fan. I'm not a Braves fan. I'm a player fan. Right. Like I am a Braves fan because of like that generation.
Yeah, for
Chipper
sure.
Jones and John Smoltz and
some studs,
Craig Maddox, dude. Like John Rocker flipping off the fucking fans and shit.
I
like,
remember.
Love that guy. But it's just interesting when he says that, because in entrepreneurship, it's like you guys think Andy's cocky or he thinks he's the best whatever in the world. Well, on his podcast, that's him batting.
Yep.
That's his at bat.
It is.
So like that's where he's supposed to deliver messages. When Andy meets other fucking billionaires, or when he first met Ed Milet, was he humble? Probably.
Yep.
You just don't see it. You're not privy to those private conversations, right? So like that's where people just have to be so careful to label or identify something as something just because you're hearing something a certain way from a certain platform. It's like, that's his at bat.
It is, man.
You know, and I feel like for me, I'm the same way, except for, you know, in my mind, it's like, as long as I'm speaking within lanes that I can contextually speak to, you won't get me talking about how to build $100 million business because I don't have one yet. But when I do, I'll talk about how I built it. You know what I'm saying? Like how we built it, excuse me. But it's like, I stay within my knees, within my feet. You know, like you start getting outside of your lane with like your experience, like that's where you get vulnerable and people call you out. But my version of humble, my display of humble is no matter how much I talk, you're never going to see me talk outside the scope of something I haven't done. That's my form of being humble and not thinking I'm greater than I am. I just am what I am. I am what I am. I'm not greater, but I'm not less than. So if I'm speaking on a stage in front of 10,000, cool. But I'm not going to go take that now to think I know it all. So now I'm going to go have a podcast on fatherhood and financial advice. And it's like, oh, because you're good at one thing, you just talk about everything now. No. And you see what I'm saying? So like the way that I regulate myself within being humble is being honest with me and making sure that I speak to the shit I've done, knowing that that's really all you can speak to. And just because I've done it and it's worked doesn't mean it's going to work for someone else. It's like, look, here's how I did it. Yep. Could this work for you? Potentially, but I'm not going to say it will. Because just because I made it work doesn't mean you can't. I don't know. But here's what I've done. Like there is a way to be humble within running your fucking mouth a lot, I guess, on podcasts and events and stuff. But that's internally, that's like my internal clock or my not clock. It's like my internal regulating system of like, yep. Hey man, are you full of shit or not? Like I've got friends that like my buddy Brian Shantosh, and yeah, he was a Marine Corps commander with us, and he's our division schools commander, and I appreciate him a lot as a leader. And he's always he's not always, but he talks a lot about just like believing your own bullshit, and then getting into circles where they all just echo chamber of their own bullshit, sucking their own fucking dicks off. You know, and like, so internally I have a little bit of fear of that, of like I just like to check myself sometimes and like, hey, am I full of shit right now? Well, like I know everyone's gonna clap and cheer for because you're on stage and everyone cool, like. But like, do I believe what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, or am I reaching? Am I embellishing? Am I reaching? Like I want to, and I like that I have that because it keeps me within my own realm, you know? And I think we should have it. Like there is, you know, man, you see it online. There's a lot of guys who are like, they've made a lot of money. So now they're going to tell you how to do everything else in life. And it's like, buddy, yeah, fuck, man.
Moving forward, Eli, Will, where do you see you guys in the next 1 year, 3 year, 5 year?
Eventually out of the closet, probably fucking on the stage.
That's the plan?
I hope so, man. I literally just joined his team because he was hot. He's been playing hard to get for
I know.
7 fucking years.
Are you guilty, Eli? Is that the deal?
I'm a prude.
You're just a prude.
I thought we were out of the closet already. This is news to me, honestly. I thought we were pretty apparent.
We haven't even like privately.
Not even yet.
Fuck, just like, bothers me.
So continue growth. I mean, is this? Yep. It's going to continue to evolve.
The higher you get, the more you can see.
Yep.
Okay, so like if you were to imagine business as like a skyscraper downtown.
Yep.
You know, the first floor to the second floor to the third floor, you don't see much. You're throwing shit against the wall to see what sticks and just keep doing that. But each level you get up, you can start seeing more and more and more and more. So like right now, him and I are on a road to 1,000. We're at, about 200 agents, and we've got a goal for 1,000. So we're on the road to 1,000. So, anything that's indicative of helping realtors with systems and processes and brand and business and execution within the scope of their real estate business to, and having them a part of our brokerage so we can help them scale is our number one goal right now.
I love it.
Yeah, man.
Again, on this, buddy, I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Yeah, you're good. Well, I don't have anything until 3. I'm not sure what Eli's doing.
Jesus, what do you got, Eli?
There's always shit, bro. There's always.
Real quick, last time I was at your house,
yeah,
you had a badass cold plunge. Do you still plunge?
Well, Fuck that cold plunge, man.
You ever sat in a cold plunge?
Fuck that cold plunge. I'm reformed.
So no cold plunge for you.
Eli is a born-again anti-plunger.
I had a plunge.
You had a plunge.
Getting rid of it was the most liberating, best thing I've ever done.
He fucking hated it.
Do you want to hear? So I got a little bit wild with my cold plunge, right? I didn't want to go out. Yours is like top of the line, right? Anybody does some research on these cold plunges because there are medical benefits to that.
100%.
Right?
Yep.
Huberman talks about it all the time. Alleged
Good look,
medical,
dude. You know what?
benefits,
Before
right?
you continue, Wim Hof looks old as fuck.
He looks old as fuck. Dude. And it's
And
funny.
now they're starting to say long-term cold plunging and like tapping your fucking adrenal glands in that cold water all the time is like aging you. And like, look at Wim Hof.
He's looking rough, man.
Like, how old is Wim Hof? 41. You're like, what the fuck, bro? What
he
the
looks
fuck?
61, dude. What's
Buddy,
going on here?
He just looks old in the face.
Okay, a couple things. I've had issues with sleep throughout my life. I've had on again, off again. The worst period of time I had, I was up for 41 hours straight.
Ooh.
And I was trying to get creative. Like, how do I get some answers behind
Was that
this?
a rave or what?
Dude, not at a rave, not drug induced, nothing like that. And I had to get creative.
You should have got drug induced.
I was gonna say, I know the solution was.
I can't be doing that trazodone shit, dude. I don't like that
Not that-
doped up
not that-
shit.
not that drugs.
What kind of drugs we talking here?
Mushrooms.
Little bit of
No,
shrooms.
weed. No, weed.
He's
Yeah,
talking
just
weed.
weed.
You'd say
Yeah.
shrooms.
Not for
I don't-
sleep.
okay,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
ain't
take
sleeping
any-
on mushrooms.
Long story short, because this is your moment.
Sir.
This is my
Eli was like, cannot wait to get me to pop my cherry because I was this Marine cop that never did a drug in his life, and he's
Yes.
got pounds of weed and mushrooms in his basement. He's that fucking
fist
kid.
pat, Eli.
Yeah,
Eli,
yeah,
come here,
yeah.
bro.
Fuck yeah,
I like
fuck
He
it.
was like, oh, I'm fucking getting this guy. So
Yeah.
like my only drug experiences really are just Eli, but it was cool because like as cops, man,
Yep.
we only see drugs as like fucking crackheads and abuse, and
Drugs
then
are bad. War on drugs.
well, and they are
It's- yeah.
no, but they are bad because
course.
the only people we see him
Abused.
are abusers.
Abused, yeah.
He uses it very recreationally for growth, and that was cool to just see a different perspective. And so, like, yeah, just trying weed, and dude, there was this. We won't even get into it. He gave me a vape one time, and like, I was on another fucking planet, buddy. And then
How long did that
edibles,
last? How long did that last?
too long, hours.
It was the night.
But
yeah.
mushrooms were really cool. We'll probably do mushrooms again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done them. I smoked weed a few times in my life. Didn't.
You're still a
fare
cop,
me
so you
real well.
haven't
I can't-
actually left.
Yeah, what do I do?
You could do mushrooms; those are in your system.
I got like 3 years left. I know we've talked, and you're like, Cody, look, you could do this, you could do this. You're not wrong. You've never led me wrong. And so
You could medically do shrooms now.
what do I do? I just go to
It's
go to
medically
the doc.
approved, buddy. Yeah, prescription.
Just ask Eli.
What, Eli? What are shrooms? How will they benefit me? I should ask that.
Yeah, so I think for me, like what they've done for me, without getting into like any like the weird stuff about it, is it gives me this ability to like step out, not literally, but almost like step outside yourself.
Okay.
As if like me and you, if I dug off my hat, we'd look more alike. But almost like I'm able to sit here and watch Eli going through life and see.
Really?
I'll give you an example.
Yeah, this is
him and
good,
I go
yeah.
to him and I go to the mountains and do shrooms together, right?
Okay.
And for part of the time, him and I were talking about ourselves as if they were back at home. Like we were
Really?
talking about the husbands we were and the people we were, and like, hey, we're here right now and we're enjoying this, but but even though we're here right now, we're husbands and fathers here. So we were literally talking like we knew we weren't outside of our own body.
Yeah, yeah.
But the perspective in which you talk was very toward the men we were at home. And I remember I texted my wife.
Go ahead.
And I was like, hey, I suck at this, right? Like I display care through effort.
Yeah.
Not necessarily verbal. And I said, but I was just being open with her, and like she knew I was up there, so it wasn't like awkward or something where she's like, oh God, why is he saying all this friendly shit?
Yeah.
She knew I was up there and I was like, hey, I'm gonna come, like this guy is gonna come home tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he's not gonna vocalize as well as he is right now. But just know it's in him.
Yep. Damn, dude, that's awesome.
It was that. It was like just,
That's
but
awesome.
it removes like your, just your ego and your inhibitions and like
you don't care to hide it.
your hang-ups. And it's not that I don't tell my kids I love them or I don't tell my wife I love her. It's not that. Like I communicate. I don't go to scale at it with sometimes because like the reality is, man, I'm relied upon a lot.
Yeah.
And there's just not a huge window of opportunity to be open and vulnerable and to peel calluses off. Like calluses are armor. it's like my armor. You know what I mean? Like I don't necessarily like need to, like there's a time and place, right? To like take your armor off to be vulnerable. And it's not right now. Like, you know, like kids and wife and business and business partner who's my fucking husband. Like we have a kid together. It's called a business, right? Like, and there's just not a huge window of opportunity to like do that, you know, and like, but that's why who you're around matters so much, because Eli just loves me for me. Kate loves me for me. And they know, like they understand how I show love, how I show care. I understand how they show it. So it's like we don't have to have those battles or those fights because of how well like we all understand each other, man. Like, but it was nice to just be up there and feel mushrooms and just be able to share some of it with her and with him, and like, and that, you know, and Eli, he's a guy that like, you know, I trust with anything, man. Like so doing that with him was like, you know, the way he shows care is by like that was a very caring thing for him to do, to take me up to give me an experience with mushrooms. For sure. Not, and like it was a show of my care that I'm so reserved with some of that stuff, but for me to be open to do a mushrooms with you and to put down my fear of it, or oh God, am I gonna have a bad trip or not? Like he was letting me into his world of like what he enjoys. I was like letting him into me removing ambition of being concerned about it. So we were both displaying acts of care for one another to then just like share that moment for a night, you know, and doing mushrooms. And like, it's just great to have that perspective. And it was like, dude, I was literally talking to my wife in third person via text. Like, hey, this guy you're married to,
right?
He's going to come home tomorrow. And he's just not going to say these things.
Damn, man.
You know, like it's that.
I had always wondered, because I did hear some of the draw to, you know, your shrooms, right? And the draw to it. And I didn't, again, I've never ingested them, right? I don't, are you eating these? Or they, I mean, how are you?
Eat them, drink them.
Shove them up your ass if you want.
So,
and I heard Coasties used to do that. When they would catch, bit of that. When they would catch a drug cartel on, like coming up on shore, they used to like put little baggies up there.
Look. The Coast Guard cutter Midget, which is why it was a high endurance cutter. That's awesome. Out of Seattle, Washington.
Dude, I just took that out on you. I'm over here crying.
It's okay, baby.
I had to break my cry by
just making fun. This is a safe area, man. No last shot. It's a safe area. I liked it. No, but I had wondered that. How long, and real quick, and we can go wherever you want, but how long is the high? I mean, generally, is there a hangover the next day? I mean, what do we?
Yeah, there's like a 1 to 2 hour ramp up period.
Okay.
Call it a 4 hour peaking period, and then a 2 to 4 hour come down period.
But the come down's not like as bad as cocaine or anything. Like the come down,
come back to reality, kind of.
Yeah, you just get different. Like when I was coming, dude. Here's what's crazy. A couple other things that I said on mushrooms was Eli was like, we're in the kitchen at this cabin in the mountains, and we're just vibing and we're in the moment. And like, I'm always so forward thinking.
Yeah.
I'm never in a moment. Ever. Right? Like I'm always just thinking ahead, because that's just kind of my role in life right now, right? Yeah. Like or just how my life's gone, really. And Eli was like, hey man, it's like in the middle of us just vibing on shrooms. He was like, hey, so what do you think? Tell me what you think. And I was like, of what? And it's like, of shrooms. And I was like, no, man, I'll tell you tomorrow. Right now we're in it. Yeah. So we're just going to be, I don't know where the fuck that came from. It just rolled right off my tongue. And I think Eli can attest, I've been a little bit better at being present with certain things, and just, I'm more tempered since shrooms. I'm definitely more tempered. I don't always give shrooms the credit. I probably haven't given it credit since we've done it. I'm more tempered, man, because of it. And what else? There was that, and then like we were talking all night, man. It was great. And then we just got to this point, and I was just like, Eli, I was kind of coming down. I was just like, Eli, he's like, yeah. I was like, hey man, I kind of just want to sit here with you. I don't even want to talk anymore. And he's like, no. I was like, I literally feel like I've said all I've wanted to say and share with you, and I just want the moment to be the moment. I can feel that I'm coming down now, and I don't need to force any more language into it. Like, it's perfect.
Damn.
And we literally stopped talking all night. He turns on a funny movie, Sausage Party.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Yeah.
I didn't laugh one time.
You didn't even.
And I looked at him and I was like, hey, bro, this movie is brilliant. I was like, this is actually good writing. Like the Bun is saying this to this. I'm like, wow.
Yes.
That's fucking brilliant. I was just real appreciative beyond the humor. Yep. I was just appreciative of like, this is, and Eli goes, yeah, man, they probably wrote it on shrooms. Like,
I think they literally did.
It would not be surprising.
It was Seth Rogen.
I will tell you this, man. I've only done it once, so I can't speak a lot to it. But you can feel energy more when you're on it. And I'm already pretty good with emotional intelligence and feeling energy.
Oh, dude, you're empath. Yeah, I would agree.
I wouldn't do it with someone like the way him and I did it with just him and I was perfect, dude. Like I wouldn't do it with more than two people. One just doing it with Eli.
Critical.
Okay. And Eli knew what he was doing. So like he could tell me as we're starting to get a little bit more like feeling from it. It's like I knew he had done it before, so it was like a safe space with him, you know, but just doing it with one person was perfect because too many people around would just, it gets too disoriented. I wanted to just kind of feel it and think through it. And so maybe one other person, but I could also see how one other person might be the fucking energy that's negative.
Yep.
And would fucking completely
It's such a
flood
personal thing. Like I'm real big on like how things are done, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm never really recreational with it. There's always some sort of intention that I'm kind of going into it with. And man, the way that I like look at it is I think we've got I don't think anyone can, I'll use this word, but not that any of us need to be fixed, but I'll use it anyway for the sake of the conversation. I don't think anyone can fix us, right? I think people can influence and like shed light on things.
Yeah.
But we can fix ourselves. We're the only people that can actually do that. That's why like Tony Robbins will say, a decision to change is made in a second. It may take you 30 years to hit that second, but once you come to that second, it's made in a second. Right. And what mushrooms for me does is it allows me to take the ego down, remove like just all the lies, the little lies that we don't even know that we're telling ourselves, but we tell ourselves. And you see, man, just like I was on a Zoom call the other day and I have one of these things that like records and translates everything. And I was going back afterwards and reading the translation, bro, and seeing the words that are like coming out of my mouth,
I actually
typed up, and I'm like, oh God, oh man, that's what I feel like mushrooms does to you. Like you're and not in a negative way, but things that you just don't even realize you're doing. Because you realize
everything you think while you're on shrooms is okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like if you catch something about yourself while you're on shrooms and you're kind of calling yourself out, but you don't because your ego's gone. It's like okay that you're discovering it.
You're an observer.
Yeah, it's like it's like you know when your kid is sick and they shit themselves and you're like, but it's okay. It's okay. Like we understand because like
you can't help it.
It's no different like when you're on shrooms and you're like, oh, I do this and you're like, but you're so in such a good mood about discovering and being and like, oh, I can just be honest with myself. I don't have to lie to myself. I can just be honest about that thought I just had and it's okay. So it's not like you call yourself out and now you want to kill yourself. Yeah. At least not for me. No. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, it was a very positive thing.
Yeah.
Digressing. I know this isn't a show.
No. But I like hearing it. And we, I talk wellness all the time, whether it's on the podcast or face to face with whoever. Right. Yep. And I talk certain things that benefit people, certain things that do not benefit people. Mm-hmm. One thing that stood out to me, I had to get a little creative, man, because like I was touching on, there was a period of time I hadn't slept for like 41 hours. Like I threw that out there. And I am not one, look, I'm not saying therapy doesn't work, okay? I'm not saying that anybody hearing this, please don't think I am poo-pooing that as a whole. Do I think it's a lifestyle choice? Personal opinion, because again, we speculate a lot of times on podcasts. We talk about different things. I don't think it's meant to be a life answer to every single fucking problem that you encounter.
Sure.
I think, and I loved where you said, we have the ability in us to overcome so much shit. Yeah. You have to be willing to put in the work though.
It's like in and then out. So like when Eli, like what I hear when Eli says, we make that decision in a moment.
Yep.
It might take 20 years to get there.
Yep.
But we made that decision, right? So like if your decision is to put the alcohol down, hypothetically, right? You made that decision in a moment.
Yep.
It might take years before you can tackle it and not have any urges or whatever. Now, in your pursuit of that, you might need counseling.
Amen.
You might need a group. You might need perspective from a doctor on how your body's going to react when you're not on it. Like, so this is where it's like, no, counseling's good.
100%.
And other things, as long as you're in the pursuit yourself of improvement. If you're against the counseling, if you're not into it, or if you're just blindly into it and you'll do whatever they say, yeah, it's not going to work. But if you're in the pursuit through your own decision to become better, then there are some things outside of you, being resourceful with that can help a ton, right? But it's coming from you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. I love it.
Yeah. It's fun, man.
With what I've done, again, I do the Wim Hof shit. We laugh. We talk about it. I do the Wim Hof breathing, and I do take the ice baths. I did the white trash version of setting together an ice bath.
Yeah.
So I went to Home Depot. I got one of those massive tubs, like
those metal ones,
electric. Yeah, but it's the electric actual freezer.
That's what Scott did,
dude. So I fill it up with water. It doesn't leak. We're good to go, right? I put a thermostat in there, an Inkbird thermostat. And this started off, I put like a water filter and a little blower to keep the water moving and everything. So I got a little creative with it.
Yeah.
And I set the temperature at 44 degrees. I don't know what temperature you have yours at. I can't go below that. But I can't sit in there for more than a few minutes.
44 is
Dude,
plenty.
I'm kind of a bitch, dude.
44 is plenty.
Anything below 44, my nuts are like up on my side.
Have you tried below 44?
Yeah, I haven't tried it.
But you can't?
I don't know.
It's so limiting. So limiting.
Dude. Do you do below 44?
Yeah.
What temperature do you do?
38.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
how long are you sitting in there?
What was the longest
He ain't sitting there for like 20 minutes, bro.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
I just go dark. I just don't give a fuck.
Will, you don't fully submerge, right? You don't
I
like
do.
dunk
What are you
your
talking
head
about?
and
He's
shit?
seen me do it.
Oh, he dunks his head and shit?
Yeah.
Not
and
the whole
and
time. I
Well,
gotta
no, he'll
breathe.
dunk and then water's like neck.
Yeah, just neck high. You don't leave your head under
Well,
there the
no,
whole
you can't
time.
do it full time.
snorkel.
Skull might have a
You
little bit of an
fucking
issue right
goober.
there. Yeah, you can't do that. But you, prior to getting out, you fully submerge, get out, whatever.
Yeah.
Do your thing. Oh,
Yeah.
my God, dude.
I think the longest, I think I had done like some at like 20 minutes. I was cold all day.
Yeah. Yeah. Four's good.
That's about what I
Four's good too, man.
Dude, I'm not saying you're supposed to go 20. Matter of fact, I think you're supposed to do 4. I just I had to stop doing cold plunge for a bit because it was just taking on a different meaning for me.
Yep.
Like, not like I wanted to torture myself, but I just wanted I was going in there for the sake of like what it felt like and how long I could do it versus like the medical benefit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like there's medical benefit to water, right? If drinking water.
For sure.
And then I was just like, how much can I drink?
3
That'll
gallons
kill
a
you.
day. Yep.
If you just try to do that, you can fucking die from hydration, right? Like you can.
Too much.
That was me with the cold plunge. It was just like, oh, that hurts.
Oh, you were big on it, dude. I remember.
I still, yeah. I just don't post it.
Ah, okay.
And I drained it for a while because we put a sauna in, so it'll get.
You got a sauna too?
I just got it, so like we'll fill the cold plunge back up and do it. But like I had to put it down because it was turning into something else. I don't know if this is the right way to say it, Eli, so correct me if I'm wrong. There's like people who are called cutters, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think that's what I was using the cold plunge for.
Yeah.
I think I was cutting.
masochist.
I think I was like cutting.
Yeah.
I don't know because like
Feels good to hurt yourself, right?
I don't know.
Butcher.
I don't know if it was for the pain. Like it got real painful,
Oh, it sucks. Yep.
and then it didn't.
Yeah. It's dopamine. It's all dopamine.
Gotta
Even
be.
cutters, it's all dopamine.
Yeah, and like it got.
I
real,
never even thought about that, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That does make sense.
It got.
it is.
It would get real. Like,
Yeah.
dude, when it got real cold, and like you'd be in there for like 5, 6, and then you start getting past 6. I had one buddy get past 6 to like 6:30. It gets it's just, and if your hands are in, stop putting your hands out, you little bitch.
Yep.
Put your
Gotta put 'em
fucking
in.
toes in. Put your
Submerge 'em.
fucking hands in. But like it was fucking. It would get brutally cold. So I would just keep trying to breathe through it,
Yep.
and then you get to like this enlightened place. I don't know what minute it is because I try not to just look at it. But after a while, it all goes away, and all of a sudden, like you'll just open your eyes, and it's almost like you can't even feel your body. You're just this head.
It's because you can't.
What was that fucking cartoon? What was that cartoon where like it's like the alien head in like the
Oh, fucking Power Rangers, bro.
no.
that was,
no, I know, but like
yeah.
what was that cartoon? Kind of like The Simpsons. But he had,
I know what you're talking about.
It was the aliens
American
in-
Dad or something.
He's
he's
spot on.
in the space helmet with
Yep.
water in it, and he has like no body.
Is that what it is? Something
Buddy,
like that.
I felt like
It's not Robot Chicken, right?
I don't know. Here's what I
Good
felt
reference,
like.
though.
Yeah,
Good
From
reference.
the water line on my neck down, I didn't even have a body. I was just a head.
Floating head.
No, but seriously, it's like a.
I
It's
felt like that on mushrooms before.
Oh man,
buddy. There's something
we'll keep in
euphoric.
touch. I got a few more years.
Yeah. There you go.
There's
I got
something.
you.
There's something euphoric about it.
I'll be running treatment centers by the
Hey man, I'm down.
There was
I love
something.
it.
There was something like peaceful and euphoric about it, but like that's also not necessarily healthy.
Yep.
So I had to just like I ended up draining it before we moved. Prior to even moving, I'm just like, hey man, like I think I'm going somewhere else with this thing, and and I also felt like maybe I was still proving myself that I was like a fucking tough dude or something with my fucking ego, and it was like, hey man, I'm not using it for what it's put it down.
Put it down. Put it down.
Put it fucking down. So long story short,
Knowing that you have a sauna, how many people could fit in the sauna?
naked.
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely
let's
two
say
naked dudes. We know that.
We could
Definitely
fit a
two
couple.
naked dudes.
4. It's
So
it's a round. It's like a barrel one.
You live pretty close to me, Will.
Yeah.
Can I come by?
Buddy,
I bet we could fit 3 naked dudes
buddy.
in there.
Let's fit.
$30 a month. You can come in 3 times a week.
And we're the fucking Jewish ones over here. What the fuck?
I will join you, dude. Hey man, if you're down, I would love to.
Yeah, it's great.
Sounds
I like it.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
And you're not going to look like Wim Hof, so that's a plus,
No,
right?
no, fuck him.
Well,
shit.
I tell you what, man, that's
all you
what I
got?
wanted to touch on, my friend. And is there anything that you have feedback for me? How have the years treated me? Do I look like shit from early on? Or
You look more fit now
I appreciate that, man.
because you're coasting at the academy. You get to eat fucking 4 times a
I get to
day.
get me-
You're hanging out with Grant Cardone or not Grant Heineman.
Heineman, big
Eating your
old
fucking
Heineman.
broccoli.
Chicken and broccoli.
No, man, I appreciate it. It's just fun. Like I told Eli, hey man, let's just run this episode on ours as well because I think people might be curious on your questions and your perspective of what you might want to ask me. And you know, like some of you guys hear me cry sometimes, and like that's okay too. I think the biggest thing, man, is like I'm just a product of my mom, bro. My mom before she passed was just awesome. You know, like just unconditional love and never, you know, her not complaining or even hesitating to try to get me not to go to the Marine Corps back in 04, 05. I don't even know how you can, like, how she did that for me, man. Like, I just don't know. And then, like, sleeping in a pantry and starting over again into real estate, like, she was just always a fan of mine, you know, and, like,
Number one fan.
it's more powerful than you think. So when you're a parent, you know, it's like, I don't mean don't have discipline for your kids and be strict, but like, it's also like, it's got to come with this unconditional love that comes to it. And like, I think if there's one thing I've had is, you know, like I care about what other people think, but not beyond my own intuition and my own gut.
Yeah.
So like, sometimes it's hard to leave police departments or whatever it is, and the chit chatter or the doubts or whatever. Like, it's not that stuff doesn't affect me. And it's not that what some guys said I didn't care. I did care, you know, but not more than what my fucking inner voice is saying. And I think people flip it, you know, like they have the inner voice, but they let the outer be loud and be more important versus, no, man, I do hear those things and they do affect me. They're just not louder than my own voice. And I think that's more accurate than who gives a fuck what people say. Like, yeah, man, that sounds good. I just don't know I don't think that's ever 100% possible. And, you know, like close friends and family, some people like with Eli, I do care what he thinks of me.
Of course.
There's certain people you do need to care what they think of you.
Yeah.
Because they're there to help. And then to say that like other people that aren't close family, like if they talk shit, like if cops talk shit when I left or whatnot, that to say they're like, oh, I don't give a fuck. Like, oh man, I do care. I'm human. I have a heart. Like it does affect me.
Yeah.
It's just not going to affect me to the point where I'm going to handcuff myself in my own internal voice of having the ambition to go do what I want to pursue.
Yeah.
But it hurts. Yeah. And I don't talk about that stuff a lot, not because I'm scared of it. I just don't know how relevant it is for everybody. And I just keep on keeping on, man. Like it's that. And it's just, I think it's a pursuit of like, you know, being a good dude. And I feel like for every person that might've had a doubt in me or talk shit about it, for every 100 people talking shit, I got one good friend that believes in me. And it's like, hey man, as long as like the good guys around me are approving of who I am and what I'm doing, between them and my own internal voice, that is so significantly louder than a million fucking people telling me something else. You know, like you got to let the important people have a bigger voice for you. And yours should just carry weight, right? So, because I kind of wrestle with that when people are like, I don't give a fuck what people say. And like, how?
Damn.
Like, I've never not just 100% not cared. Like, if someone like says something mean about me, it does kind of affect me for a minute, man. Like, I care about me. I care about my reputation. I care about others. But it's just a reminder of like, yeah, man, the voice inside of you has just got to be louder, and you can't let the outside hinder you from doing it. And I think that's like when I transitioned out of police work and all that, right? Like, it's not that it didn't affect me or guys didn't doubt me or whatever. And I don't work well off of anger. So it's like, oh yeah, you fucking doubt me, I'm gonna go fucking crush. Like, I get really competitive, but not from a place of anger. But I don't know, man. I feel like my mom just kind of like always put that in me, you know? And that's where I think like my internal voice comes from my mom. Because my mom, she was like the external voice, right? Of like, oh, fuck you guys. My mom was that voice for my whole life. And then like, when she passed away, I still feel like I have that light in me. And now I talk to myself in certain ways that be very consistent with how my mom believed in me. If that makes any sense, right? Fuck.
Completely makes sense, man.
So like, it's just that, dude. It's just, I don't know. You see me, I'm crying. I still care. I still give a fuck about folks, but you just have to, you know, but I still wear my calluses as armor, and I'm still focused, and I'm on a mission, and there's still responsibilities that I have to, you know, execute on and to do, you know, and like that perspective is most important.
I'll tell you this, as many years as I've known you, you are the genuine article, and what you see is what you get.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And Will, I'll tell you one thing, buddy. I love you. No homo, but I love you.
Ah, shit.
And
I take it back.
Shit.
Take you back. Take you backies.
But honestly, man, the sky flat out, the sky is the limit. I met Eli through you, obviously, and the sky is the limit for both you guys. And
dude, Eli's a fucking stud, buddy. Like he doesn't take the credit, but I talk to him about everything he's doing internally in our business, and I'm great at maybe running my mouth and inspiring people and getting them around us.
Yep.
So I'm great at, I guess, what I would call filling the cup.
Yeah, man.
But he's the bottom of that cup that keeps the water in it.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Dude.
Like, buddy, it's such a pinnacle piece. Like, I've never met another human that has been a better fit for me that lets me be me. But then me being me lets him be him.
1,000%.
It's wild, buddy. It's wild how many things we don't have to say to each other because it just works. But he's brilliant, man. He's a good dude.
I prayed for Will and God delivered. He did. I swear, I'm not even joking.
Completely. You both, and you mean well. And that's
and intention's always there.
Oh my God. It's rare. It's rare.
It's cool when you can just be, when people are like, yeah, man, with Will or with Cody, like, hey, what you see is what you get. That's a compliment. It's almost like liberating nowadays when like you can mean what you say and say what you mean.
Yep.
And then just people, they just know who you are. Hey man, what you see is what you get. Like, that's great. It somewhat makes you predictable, right? Which is great. But it also means if people think that of you, it also means you're probably pretty close to being authentically yourself.
Before we wrap, one simple example. You reached out to me because we hadn't talked. I think it had been a little bit. We hadn't communicated about something.
Fucking bitch.
And let me tell you something. Will straight up, he hit me up, sent me it was a brief message, but then he expanded on it a little bit. And I called him back. He didn't beat around the bush. And I'm not going to air the conversation or whatever, but we were able to basically discuss. He goes, look, man, don't feel like you have to be friends with me. Don't feel like you have to talk. Basically, we had genuinely. I told the wife, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go upstairs real quick. I'm going to have a conversation with Will. I went upstairs.
He forgot to call me back a couple of times after I called him.
Correct.
We were having a conversation, and the synopsis was like, hey, man, I don't ever want to think you're a guy that only talks to me when you need something from me.
Yep.
And I also don't want to make you feel like you need to be my friend in the absence of it. Like, if you want to call because you need something, cool, but then don't feel like you have to be my friend.
For sure.
And he's like, kind of like, well, hey, why would you think that way? It's like, well, because I don't hear from you.
Yeah.
Unless it's that. And then when you tell me you're going to call me back and I don't hear back from you. So then I call you back. You send it straight to voicemail. It's like, hey, and like, really, you were just busy. But it was for me, and like, you know, what we gained from that was like you finally got a little bit exposed of like how guarded I am around my circle.
Dude, and you have every reason to.
Of just like, hey man, you know how many people just need something?
Yep.
And like Eli will tell you, because I am a care bear. I am a want to help fucking everybody. Mm-hmm. And there's a point to where like not identifying that with yourself. It's like a lot of people will take advantage of you, and it's your fucking fault for not identifying how you're letting it happen. So like I get a little guarded, and I didn't even know this about me until Eli. Eli was actually protecting me before I protected myself.
Wow.
He's the guy that was like, you need to be on Ryan's show. You need to be here. Like, he would like not let people take my fucking time, bro. Like, he was the first guy that really just saw me for what I was. But then I was like, man, I'm being too reckless with my time, and being more structured with my time doesn't mean I care less. It means I'm just going to give more care to the people that should get it. You know, and like, and you know, man, like as you grow over time, like you get people reaching out, and it's always, man, they fucking need something.
Well, and it's not just time, especially for you. Will put so much energy, dude. He'll put as much energy into a single person as he does a crowd of 1,000 people. It's the same dial. You know what I mean?
A beautiful thing, man.
It is, but can also be detrimental. If you're just pouring into this. This person that it's like,
well,
man,
dude, he would feel it, because like I would with someone, but then I carry that to work. I carry that into our work, and then he started seeing that, and it's like then he was the one that kind of helped me regulate. So that's where a little bit of like, when you're like, oh, dude, sorry, bro, but that's where my hypervigilance was coming from, because it's like, man, if we're boys, if we're friends, and like, then there should be weight behind that word. And then we gotta, and hey, if you can't call me back, that's okay, but just say something to me. Call me in a month, no problem. But let's try to just communicate with each other better, because if we're gonna call each other friends, man, I want that to mean something, you know.
When you did that, I mean, obviously that, again, I didn't need confirmation, but it was confirmation. You're like, you know what, this friendship means something to me. You know what I mean? If it means the same to you, then fucking appreciate what I am to you and who I am to you. That's a big deal, Will.
But also don't have any guilt if you don't want to be my friend. You know, like it's both. It's not like just me being entitled to people need to treat me a certain way. It's like, no, it's like, hey, are we fucking or not? Right? Like, are we, but dude, it makes the friendship better when we both have a little bit of just intention behind how we communicate with each other. Like, it does, man. There is a difference. And like, when you have your true friends, when you talk to them once a year, I got friends I talk to twice a year. But they're different levels of friends that give different things versus just the casual fucking small talk friend. It's like, we don't need any more of those. No, hell no.
For anybody that's again listening, this is kind of like this dual podcast, right? For Bearded Monkey, and then as well as y'all's podcast, right?
Two Jews in a cup.
That's right. That's right.
Two Jews in a Dunkin' cup, buddy. Shout out to Chris. You're gonna get fucked.
Will, for the Bearded Monkey listeners,
man.
How do they find you guys on the socials?
I just look up Will Grimes on Instagram, man. If you got questions or if you want to reach out, throw me. I swear to God, throw me a DM.
And he's that guy. He will answer.
I run my own shit. Throw me a DM and we'll chat.
Throw me a DM. I'll get back to you in like 4 to 6 weeks. But the intention is good. I promise you.
But if you tip him on the message, he'll respond within 24 hours.
Yes. Dang right. Dang right. Where do they find you, Eli?
Eli Schmidt here, Instagram.
Eli Schmidt, right on Instagram. Okay. You all, as well as YouTube following, sizable. I mean, that's something that you guys have really.
And we don't share that with like that's just for people that search living in Denver, right? So we don't even share that anywhere. We just let that be on YouTube for people that are looking to move here.
Fuck up our algorithm.
Copy that. So IG is the main spot.
Totally.
That's what
you can find our podcast and everything through there. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all that stuff. But you can find it through all of our.
And then for our audience. You're on.
So you can find me on Instagram at Bearded Monkey Tactical, just like it sounds.
Or just speed. Or just speed. Hey, you know why I pulled you over? Like
speed. I will, but I'm not on the road anymore. So what do I do?
Dude, you don't play hell when you are. I'll be out there.
Yeah, baby, I love it. You can Bearded Monkey Tactical on Instagram. I also have the Bearded Monkey podcast, which is on Spotify, Apple, or whatever it is you get your podcast.
All the places.
All the spots.
Boys.
Awesome. That's it, baby.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to all you guys.
We're out of here.
Appreciate you guys listening.
Peace.
Day $1.0.
We're out of here.
I can never take a day off.
I freaking dig it.